let's say your name is Chris Johnston. And
I'm so cute and a journalist.
And you need to go to Edmonton and Florida, which is the second time in a row that we're going to get the longest flight between two cities for an NHL Stanley Cup.
I bet everyone's so pumped.
I bet they're pumped. No, actually, you know what? I think it's okay.
Why not? Worse ways to live.
Listen, you're going to be going country to country. You need an eSIM plan that's going to work because you're not just, even if you're in Canada, if you're in a different part of Canada, they're like, that's long distance, you're going to pay more.
Yes.
So what if you chose
but I drove
over
here?
What's that?
But I drove here.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, I hate paying long distance for a place I drove.
160 countries, 8 regions around the world with Saley eSIM. You're always going to have a connection when you need it. And here's the great thing. It is backed by Nord Security. So you don't have to worry about, weird Wi-Fi spots that you perhaps... Now, listen, that's less of an issue in Edmonton and Florida. But, around the world, there's some places where you're like, nah, I don't think I want the eSIM card from here, actually.
Lethbridge.
Yeah, Lethbridge. Now, that's a problem. Grand Prairie? We're on to you.
Home of the Storm?
24/7 support and full refund, especially if your device isn't eSIM compatible, but all Android and iOS devices, or most are. Most. Yes. I have to say most.
Most, yes.
Okay, so here's the deal. Exclusive 15% discount on Saley data plans. Use the code DANGLE at checkout. Download the Saley app, SAILY.com/dangle for 15% off Saley data plans.
SDPP, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
Is it 2024 or 2025?
I don't know.
So we got a Stanley Cup.
I'm seeing double. 4 Panthers and Oilers. That's a very good reference. Great way to start the show.
Man.
I'm leaving.
I thought today's show would be action-packed before last night's game.
Oh.
And we're going to work backwards, guys. This is what we're going to do. So today's show is going to go Dallas-Edmonton.
Oh, heck yeah.
And then it's going to go Treliving press conference, which Jesse attended.
Heck yeah.
And Jesse and Brad went for beers afterwards, so I'm excited to hear what Brad
I got
said.
a gift from him.
You got a gift from Brad?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll bring it up in the segment.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah,
is it a big and tall guy store gift card?
It was a Boston Pizza franchise.
Oh,
yeah. He gave me a whole franchise. I was very appreciative. I'm going to change the entire menu to just be chicken fingers, so Steve will come to the location every day.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. There's one in Ajax.
Does it only serve chicken fingers?
Not yet.
Well, it will.
Well, we call him Bradley franchise. Bradley franchise for living. And then we're going to do Florida, Carolina. And I do think the tweet from last night referencing Mikko Rantanen, I forget who it was from. It's like, hey, isn't it kind of cool that Mikko Rantanen got to decide which team he wanted to lose in the conference finals in 5 games with?
Damn.
Oh, no.
Man.
It's kind of crazy, huh?
1 goal in his final 10 games. Now,
Yuck.
he did set up that rather nice second Jason Robertson goal, but that's not good enough from him.
We'll start from the start of that game. And the start really is the first 10 minutes. You get 2 shots and 2 goals on Jake Ottinger. And by the way...
Which means he's done.
By the way, I've seen Bobrovsky give up a couple of bad ones early in a game and then lock in and win. And what is interesting about this, to me, it's more than the fact that DeBoer, guys, pulls Ottinger. It's how. So, Jesse, I'm going to send you this over, and I know we can't run it as like a clip, but I want you to, so
I can describe it from memory.
So they do TV timeout.
Yeah.
And they're talking. And what?
They're yelling.
They're yelling. And he's pissed. And DeBoer's mad. And I get it. But it's 2-0. You're the Dallas Stars. You can score goals.
You haven't the series, but you could.
You have multiple guys who have scored 40 goals in their career.
You know who I can almost guarantee was never going to score in this game? Jake Ottinger.
Good point. Now, what I found interesting is after the TV timeout, it's not that Jake Ottinger skates back to his net, which he almost does. It's how Pete DeBoer calls him back. It's the violence of the point.
Violence.
It's the get off. You know when your dad's really mad. Get over here. It's like one of those. You could see it in his eyes. There's rage.
Well, Adam, I didn't really play sports, so I didn't get that at soccer when I was 5.
My dad was not a yeller too. He's a quiet guy, but
he was a yeller. I just didn't play sports. But he's still a boomer at the end of the day.
Even when you've when you've done something wrong, like you climbed up somewhere you shouldn't have climbed up and it's dangerous.
Get off the shed.
Yeah, 100%. Now Jesse, you've got the clip there. Can we fast forward a little bit and just get to the DeBoer point? Forget about the DeBoer sword. The DeBoer point. It should be a point through the goalie. So watch. Casey DeSmith comes out. Keep going, because they're going to replay this.
This angle, you can't really see it.
So you're seeing that, and then later on.
No, I think it's after this, Jesse.
It is. Yeah. Just after.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
there it is. Oh, yeah.
Yelling.
And then he's going to give him the old nonchalant umpire heave-ho.
Hey, it's not really that.
That didn't show it properly.
Well, here. Can I do it?
Do it. Reenact it.
Gives him one of these. Little overhead, the skyhook. Get out of there. Gives him one of those. Put those side by side, identical. Gives him one of those.
I'm telling you.
Yo, that
you can kind of see the hand here. Where is it? You can see it.
It's quick, right?
Yeah, it's see it right there. That's the hand. There you go.
There's the hand. Get out.
There.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, you see
the
it?
violence of that?
It's not the best, but
I know
I can give the people kind of what happened there. See, there's the point.
Listen, you all have Reddit and Twitter and Instagram. It's going to be everywhere today. You can look it up.
There's the flip.
Man.
Yeah.
He might as well flip them off.
Yeah.
Honestly,
it was a "you're out of here" to a coach.
Yeah.
An umpire. He just threw him out of the game.
So, Adam, here's what I'm fascinated by. Do you want to immediately skip ahead to his comments?
No.
And then we'll talk about the game?
I feel like we need to talk about the rest of his game and then get the comments in context.
Oh, fine.
Okay? The reason I say that is because the rest of the game does matter in context because it makes the comments worse.
Yes.
And obviously, I also want to show you this. The greatest picture in playoff history was taken just after this moment with Ray Ferraro and Jake Ottinger on the bench. There is no glass partition between the two of them. And Ray Ferraro has to talk about Jake Ottinger being pulled while sitting next to Jake Ottinger, who has his eyes closed.
And no, Ottinger, like Ferraro even says as part of his commentary, he's like, yeah, now he has to look down at what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that it was 1 or 2 episodes ago we talked about Ray Ferraro going, Paul Martin is terrible and making fun of Dionfino's voice. And here he is rubbing shoulders with Jake Ottinger.
Like, how do they not put a piece of glass up there? Even just a piece of like plexiglass, something.
Anything.
Like, how is that possible?
You know, it's funny. Every baseball field in the MLB is a little different, and every rink in the NHL is a little different. But the baseball fields are intentionally, we shaped it a little weird. NHL arenas are different in very broke ways.
Yeah, like coaches not being able to get onto the bench without walking on the ice, or
We
goalies
saw
not
Craig
being
Berube almost break his neck.
yeah, or
San
Anthony
Jose.
Stoller's not being able to sit with the team. He has to sit in the crowd
And
at the
there's
SAP.
so many arenas like that, and now the broadcaster just has to.
Who do you feel worse for, Jesse? Who do you feel worse for,
Ray.
Ottinger or Ray?
Ray. I mean, Ottinger.
It's awkward for Ray Ferraro,
Ray.
but like Ottinger's watching his coach just sewer him in front of the entire world.
Here's the difference. Ray still has a job to do.
Yeah.
Jake's night is done.
I feel bad for Ottinger and how that whole thing played out. Like those first 2 goals, I get it. Like you're trying to change the momentum and all that stuff. And like his comments afterwards, I think are just kind of off base. But like Ottinger is a good goalie. I don't think
depends who you ask.
I don't think anybody looked at those 2 goals and thought, you know what's going to turn this game around? Not having Jake Ottinger in net. What's going to turn this game around is Dallas finally getting their offense going, finally figuring out the power play, finally cracking the Edmonton defense. Like that's what's going to get this game going, and not having Jake Ottinger in net.
Yeah.
I feel entirely bad for him for this situation. I think Pete DeBoer was very wrong to pull him.
Absolutely.
I mean, your first goal, there were so many goals I had to look to remind myself. But the first goal is Perry on the power play. It is a perfectly set up goal. And the reason, by the way, you were on the power play 2 minutes into an elimination game on home ice is because you put a rookie in and he took a careless penalty after you sat him for 13 straight games.
Right.
Like, if there's blame to go around, right?
Yes.
Like, let's talk about, you let the Oilers back on the power play. How did that happen? Like, so many of the Stars' penalties in this series that they've paid for, it's worth mentioning that they were dumb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Penalties are going to happen. Sometimes, you're in a puck battle, your stick gets under their skate.
Yep.
Sometimes, you might have saved a goal there. So many, as the series went on, the penalties the Stars took got dumber and dumber.
Yes.
Offensive zone, careless and they paid for it every time.
Yes.
Every time.
And
you want to talk about the yips, right? You want to talk about demons. I kind of wonder if the Oilers' power play just seeped into their bone marrow.
I also think it's pretty relevant that as soon as they pull Ottinger, Jeff Skinner, who has played a grand total of, this is his second game in the playoffs, scores immediately and he was the final Oiler forward to not score.
58 seconds apart were those goals. Two different goalies. 58 seconds apart.
And I don't even blame, do you blame Casey DeSmith for that goal?
No!
I do.
Yeah,
because when he made the play out in front, he did a little poke check to send the puck back into the scrum where all the Oilers were, and he should have just covered the puck.
But
I think that goal was actually on him.
Here, let me see this again.
I'll show you the incident I'm talking about. I don't know if you guys remember it, but there's a point where the puck comes to Casey DeSmith, and he decides to hit it back towards the Oilers. He poke checks it back to the Oilers.
All right, Jesse's right.
I
watched it again. Jesse's right.
And I was like, what is he doing on the replay? He does a little flick and he sends the puck back into the scrum, and then the Oilers score.
Do you
the
think,
puck.
Do you think he might have been slightly jumpy because he was put into a game he shouldn't have been?
Yeah, and hadn't played in a month?
Why are you sending the puck back to the other team?
I don't know. I was about to scold the Dallas defense for not clearing the rebound. Rebound from what?
Rebound from the goaltender who's like, I'm going to pass it to Edmonton.
Yeah, no, that's bad.
And that's why you don't pull Jake Ottinger.
No.
Especially it's 2 goals. You can overcome 2 goals.
Yeah, they scored.
And by the way, they did.
They scored 3.
This is Adam, I badly want to get to the comments.
No, we can't. Because we need to talk about the fact that Jeff Skinner scored. And then here's the crazy thing, as we mentioned, Jesse mentioned there too. Crazy thing is, Stars make it interesting. It was once 3. It was 3-0. It was 3-2. The problem is the Oilers could not stop with the scoring, right? Yeah. And then eventually in the third period, they just the Oilers just broke the Dallas Stars. And so do you want to get to I guess we can get to the press conference now. Do you want to now?
Well, the third period, it was actually interesting.
It was.
The game was. Yeah, I think it's a great point that the game wasn't lost at any point. When it was 3-2, and then McDavid scores, if they go on to win the cup and they do the thing, looking back on that goal as such a game breaker, a McDavid moment in the playoffs, it's going to be really cool. That's going to exist in his highlight pack for I think a long time. If they end up winning the cup.
What a combination of luck and skill.
Yes.
How did that puck find him?
But he's always kind of in that situation. Mm-hmm. He always kind of creates his own luck there. And Ekholm getting a point on that was nice in his return. And at that point, it's 4-2 after they just get to 3-2, and that's 2 minutes later, and you think okay, they're done. And then J-Rob comes and scores.
Yeah.
Dude.
And it's 4-3 again. You're like, Dallas can still do this.
The Stars are going to eat a lot of it because they friggin' lost in 5 here. Jason Robertson in this series, an assist, then nothing, then a goal, then 2 goals.
Yeah.
He was the only Star scoring.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't show up for the first half of the playoffs.
Yeah. I think that
didn't matter. They won.
Injury, right? A little bit injury. He missed the first.
Once he was in, he didn't contribute.
He had 1 total assist against the Jets, and then he was the only Star of worthy of mention.
Yep.
I think looking back on that playoffs, you want more out of Jason Robertson for the entire thing.
I agree.
I think when you're doing the autopsy on the Stars, he showed up for 3 games, and there's a reason. We played the clip where he was shocked. He's like, "Oh, that was my first goal."
Oh, that was mine.
But he wasn't there offensively, and I think that's disappointing.
But
I agree.
The autopsy is meant to find the cause of death.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the cause of death was not Robertson wasn't very good against the Jets. They beat the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Against Edmonton, I mean, geez, he was the only cure in sight. Everyone else seemed like the cause. It was,
Yeah.
Well, and let's,
No, I agree with that.
Let's be
fair.
honest. We as Toronto fans know a Cody Ceci shutdown pair when we see one.
Yo, he was awful.
But this is
Holy
the thing.
cow.
That is not new.
Oh, I know.
He was scratched in the Stanley Cup Finals for Phil Broberg last year. Everybody forgets that.
And like hindsight 2020, look how good Broberg is now.
And was clearly in that final.
Yes.
And this is the thing. Like I
On his offside.
it takes me back to the Kyle Dubas thing where I don't think we need to have a referendum on Cody Ceci every time we lose a game or
One of the
something
most
like that.
confusing players in the NHL.
I don't think it's confusing though. I don't think there's anything confusing about it.
No, he finds good teams. They go far. Sometimes they'll even go to a game 7 and he'll score for the first time in like 4 months. He cannot move the puck. Last night, he was awful at it. He was so
and neither
bad.
can former Leafs defenseman Ilya Lyubushkin.
Did he even play?
I don't even know if he's playing last night, but
Like-
they're getting caved on that side, and we said that before the season started. If there was an Achilles heel, it's that.
And they did near nothing to address it. They get Heiskanen back. They're playing him on the offside, which I thought he actually did a pretty good job.
Harley. He's awesome.
Harley's awesome. I thought he was really good, but it's funny. Like here's what you're getting in the Cup final. Two teams, I can't believe I'm saying this about the Oilers, that have essentially no weaknesses. Now, the Oilers obviously have weaknesses. And I mean, the Panthers are prone to fits of, we don't care tonight. I don't know if that's going to happen in the Cup final. But when I say weaknesses, I mean individuals on their roster. 1 through 12 up front, 1 through 6 on the back end. And then even the spares who come into the lineup. Edmonton's getting something out of everybody. Florida's getting something out of everybody. The bad players on the Stars were awful. They made me regret watching. There was so much. There was bumblefucking. There was busy nothing. There was Matt Duchene. If you just watch him and don't pay attention, if you watched like after like maybe 4 beers or a gummy, you'd be like, this guy's awesome. This guy's friggin', he's flying out there. He's flying at Mach 10 to Nowhereville. Nothing was going on.
And that was the whole playoffs, by the way. He wasn't that effective at all. Where would the Stars have been in these playoffs without Rantanen?
And who took away his ability to receive a pass?
Yeah.
That dude's stick was made of rubber last night. And he still set up a pretty nice goal. Yeah. He couldn't receive a pass. Wyatt Johnson, I thought, actually looked pretty good, but he has not had a very good playoffs. Cody Ceci was abysmal.
20 minutes last night he played. Yeah, Lyubushkin, by the way, was not. Lyubushkin didn't play last night.
In the year 2025. No, I know, but like even Grav was saying, he's like, oh man, who could have known a side of Lyubushkin and Ceci would get caved? Like it's crazy, dude, and it has happened.
You're like, I would love to know Ceci's shift chart because like you're losing almost that entire game. What is a player who cannot move the puck doing out there for 20 minutes?
Yeah, he was in the starting lineup. Like when the game kicked off, it was him and Harley out there at the D pairing. So like
that's the only reason he's out there. Is he's paired with
Petrovic
Harley.
and Ceci on the right side.
Yeah.
Oh man. And like you got the Oilers going out and like conjuring a spell over the bones of John Klingberg. Like, and bringing him back, and he was a useful player for them.
Yeah.
And here's you with Cody Ceci in the year of our Lord, 2025. I know he was in the final last year. He got scratched in the final, but...
How much did he play in the final last year?
Well, this is what I'm saying about him. Like, there's obviously something there. Like, Cody Ceci's been very deep in the playoffs many times, and I can't explain any of it. Mm-hmm. That's a terrible player. Like, at the NHL level... Oh my God, get off my team. He can't.
He can't.
If you're Colorado right now, you got to be looking at this and saying like, we failed miserably.
That's all
by not taking advantage of this situation.
Drew was muttering that in my ear all night.
They should have been in this series against Edmonton 100 times out of 100, and they screwed up.
Oh man,
they should have had that series against Dallas. It's inexcusable.
No Robertson, no Haskin.
Seeing how they play now with this lineup that's supposed to be like intact, and you don't win that series, that's bad.
Nathan McKinnon had 7 goals in 7 games in that series.
Yes, he was great.
How many Dallas Stars, who played as many as 18 games, because that's what they played, had more goals than Nathan McKinnon?
Currently have more
goals than that.
I think Rantanen end of list.
You're correct.
Damn.
That is and this is supposed to be a Dallas Stars team where the spread of scoring is their thing.
No, you know what they looked like was Carolina West.
They sure did.
Like really good. Really good.
But they're deeper than Carolina.
You need
Carolina deserves more
they're
credit
deeper than Carolina. They have arguably, I don't know about better game breakers, just different. Like Harley's skill set is not Slavin's skill set. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But those are just 2 very good teams with very good players who sort of lack anyone who can go. I mean, spreading out McDavid and Draisaitl, like either line hits the ice, you don't have an answer. You don't have an answer for Draisaitl. You don't have an answer for McDavid. All right, series is over. How'd it go 5?
And Kane and Nuge.
Kane was
Hyman until he's not out. Or geez.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Hyman was better than most Stars in the series. He didn't even finish the thing. Corey Perry has 7 goals.
Yeah.
You know, you were talking about...
He's got more goals than everyone on the Stars except for Mikko.
Yes!
Now, he's got
40.
the best gig. He's playing next to Connor, but like you do have to score it.
No, he's playing next to Connor because Zach's out.
Well, yeah, but he was playing next to Connor a lot of the second round, too.
And he's getting some on the power play.
He deserves it.
I think it might should be fit better in the Carolina Florida conversation, because that series also ended in spectacular fashion in that the other team didn't show up. But like the playoff format that Gary Bettman has, in years past, I thought it was kind of a moot point, because it usually played out where the teams that would play each other would play each other. But a lot of people have been pointing out that this, under a 1-8 matchup in both sides of the conferences, should have been a first-round matchup.
Oh, this as well?
Yeah.
This as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I'm starting to buy that argument now that we have the conclusions of these series. Because, like, Carolina, I really thought they'd be in it more. I thought there was more there, and I thought they'd win the last game to extend the series.
Rounds.
I came on here, I was like, they're going to keep this series going. But seeing how it played out, now that we have the conclusion, like, we got to fix the playoffs. Like, we can't be having conference finals, both series going like 5 games, and they're duds.
And now there's essentially a week until the finals.
Like, I don't, as a hockey fan, like, I love all these games. I haven't missed a playoff game. It's all exciting, but they're duds of series.
It's funny because it's the Final Four. It is the conference.
It didn't feel that way.
And like, yes, I know, Leaf fan. Okay, leave that out of it. Let me talk as a guy. You're watching, and at the end of both series, I'm looking at the losing team. Like, are they good? I don't know if they're good. Mm-hmm. Of course they're good. They're in the Final Four. They won 2 series each. You know, Dallas had to beat Colorado. They had to beat Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. So you're going through Colorado and the President's Trophy winners. Panthers had to beat Tampa and the Leafs. You know, but like, yeah. I'm oh wait, sorry, that's Florida.
Florida had to beat.
Carolina had to beat. Well, that's a different conversation.
Washington.
You had to beat the ghost of the Devils.
Yeah.
And
the bones that survived.
Yeah. You had to beat the Devils without the devil. You had to beat like the Devil's minions.
Dallas is more confusing in that regard. Well, like Carolina bombing in the.
Maddie, if you want to bring up the standings there, just to give you guys a look, like it's the 3-6 matchup. So it's the 3-6 matchup was Dallas-Edmonton. That's a first-round matchup.
But Dallas is the 3!
In any normal world, it's a first-round matchup. And then you go to the East, the first-round matchup is Carolina-Florida. So, and in both of these situations, the underdog team wins. But in both of these situations, they're paired up in the first round. And these 5-game results actually make more sense if they're placed there. Yeah. And by having this weird wild card division format, you have the results not kind of fit where the teams end up when we see them against the top level competition.
Right, because there is such a difference when you get to that. And let me back your point even more, guys. Let's talk about the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference Finals and just how many games it went last 4 years. Okay. So right back to before that it was like weird COVID shit, so I'm not even going to talk about that.
Weird.
2022
Montreal was in the West.
2022 Lightning third cup in 3 years that they went to. They took the Rangers. The Rangers took them to 6. Okay, that's okay, but it's not. It's not like
Tampa was the better team.
2023. We all know the Panthers swept the Hurricanes. 2024 Panthers and New York go 6. This year, Panthers, Hurricanes 5. And let's be honest, and I did every stream in that series. There was one good game in that series, and it was the final one. Truly. There was one good game. There was one game that was even close, and it was game 5. Okay? I mean, I guess game 4 was a little close towards the end. Now let's look at the Western Conference. Colorado, Edmonton 2022.
Sweep.
Avalanche swept. Vegas, Dallas, 6 games the next year. 2024, Edmonton, Dallas 6, and then 2025 Edmonton, Dallas 5.
So that's not.
It's not great.
It's up and down.
If you go back and you look at the history of this stuff, though, right before, I don't even know when this ridiculous seeding started, but I'm looking at like 2018 Washington Capitals, Lightning 7 games, 17 Penguins, Senators 7 games, 16 Penguins, Lightning 7 games, 15 Lightning, Rangers 7 games, and let's go back to like 2004, Lightning, Flyers 7, New Jersey Devils, Senators 7, Carolina Hurricanes, Leafs 6, New Jersey Devils, Penguins 5, New Jersey Devils, Flyers 7. There's so many 7s in there.
Yeah.
When you get it again, it's sometimes the amount of games in the series don't matter. Like the New York Rangers blew themselves up after winning 2 games in the Eastern Conference Final last year. They were like, we got to change everything.
There might be 2 other teams who do it this year.
Probably the Leafs.
Well, no, like
Dallas and
Carolina's probably going to make
Carolina
additions rather than blowing it up.
We could talk about Carolina. Stars need there's something that needs to change there.
We're kind of all over.
They might fire the coach during the show.
Yeah,
kind of all over the place.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I think the NHL does this on purpose. It's whenever the NHL tells you, oh, it's about getting great rivalries. It's not. It's about getting great momentum in the ratings to start the playoffs.
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
So nothing to do with your rivalries.
Up to make the first round a bloodbath.
That's right. Yes. And the problem with that is naturally over the playoffs, you are going to lose investment. And what I kept saying on my streams was, listen, there are going to be people that only watch their team and then they're like, I'm done. And that's fine. You're the rest of the rounds, you got to make them compelling too for the person like us who is going to watch everything. And I look at the whole scenario as, if I am watching the Leafs in the first round, and let's say Dallas and Colorado is the best thing of the first round, I don't have time to watch it. Now, I do because it's my job. But like, imagine you're somebody who is like, oh, I'm a Jets fan or a Blues fan, but Dallas, Colorado's going on, and I'm sure I would really like it, except my team's fucking playing and I'm not watching it.
Yeah.
The goal is to just flamethrower your TV.
But that's the thing, is that you're going to miss most of it because there's double games happening in the first round.
Yeah, but every hockey fan in North America is going to be engaged. Like, and some of you are going to watch too.
For a couple weeks.
This is the problem. Now, I think the first round, and this is not going to make any sense for hardcore hockey fans, but I think for most people, especially looking at this from a sales perspective, like we run our own business now. We know a little bit about how the sausage is made, and it's not quite the way I expected it. The first round is way easier to sell.
Second round is hard.
Second round is hard. Third round is hard. The turnaround is ridiculously fast. Sometimes it's 48 hours between a round. And who's going to be there? You don't know the team. And if you do know the teams, you don't know the players.
Yeah.
Like you could set up, imagine it's a few years ago and it's the Battle of Alberta, right?
In the second round, right?
In the second round, right? And we were all excited for the Battle of Alberta. It's Edmonton. It's Calgary. And what if I were to tell you McDavid's hurt, Draisaitl's hurt, Kachukka's hurt, and I don't know, pick another flame. They're all hurt. Elias Lindholm. Yeah, Markstrom. You have no idea who's going to be there. So I think Their goal is to just plaster your TV for 2 weeks. Absolutely firebomb, like just every molecule of your cable feed with as much hockey and the faces of their stars as possible. Second round, I mean, if your team is in the second round, what are you not watching?
Yeah.
Of course. Like, so it then becomes more of a local thing. Conference final, it's local, and you bring in more of the hardcores because they're like, well, it's the Final Four, and then the Stanley Cup final is the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, the
you
third
don't have
round
to
is
sell that.
Oh, yeah, like
it's a championship.
It's sort of like this, and then the Stanley Cup is like it's like a graph that goes down.
Yes,
and the third round is a bit of a letdown for a lot of people, and then the Cup final you hope is a good one. And
now we cater to hardcores.
Sure,
our numbers go up.
Yeah,
I don't think that's the way it works on TV and radio.
No, it isn't. And the reason that, by the way, everybody wondering, the reason that the Cup final starts like a week later now, they didn't used to do this. The reason they're doing it now is because TV stations and radio stations, to a lesser extent, need time to close deals on the Stanley Cup final. And it gives you a weekend, and it gives you early into next week to get people on board to sign.
Isn't it a bummer that's how it works?
Well, I mean, I feel like I kind of like the fact that players get a chance to heal too.
Well, because you want to, I mean, and they have all these days off too in the Cup final. I mean, you want the best players to look good.
Yeah.
There have been,
I mean, the Super Bowl waits 2 weeks, right?
Yep. There have been a few series I've watched from like every one of these guys is broken. I'd rather watch 2 AHL teams right now.
Right.
Like, I'd rather watch 2 fresh AHL teams than these guys who every stride looks like pain.
Now, can we get to the DeBoer comments?
Yes.
I sent them over, Jess. I'm not sure if you saw them there. And, you know, we talk about the fact that Pete DeBoer, listen, Alan's going to hate that we bring this up, but we all remember
I don't think he hates it that much.
The Marc-Andre Fleury DeBoer sword.
What are you talking about? Everyone's calling him right this morning. Alan doesn't hate this at all. What are you talking about?
But
no chance.
The famous DeBoer sword, the Marc-Andre Fleury with the DeBoer sword through him, that was when, you know, DeBoer had taken over the coaching the Vegas Golden Knights. And you know, famously, this guy doesn't treat goalies the best. And everybody was like, and we said it at the time. I've talked to Alan about it since. We lit Alan up for that, and he thought it was hilarious. He's like, yeah, I remember somebody sending me the clip of you guys talking about that.
Okay, here's what I was upset about at the time. Which, by the way, which one's my individual camera?
I think you're 1 or 3, one of those.
Alan, am I 3? 1? Alan, I'm sorry. Deeply sorry. You know, sometimes you go on a journey. Life's all about journeys. I went on my several year-long journey, and I arrived at I'm Wrongville. And look at you, sitting on your throne in your castle in I'm Rightville. Good for you, Alan. What I was upset about is people were like, like Marc-Andre Fleury's agent, that's just him being an agent. He's just going rogue. Fleury doesn't really think like that. And I'm like, if the person I paid to represent me posted a photo of my coach stabbing me in the back with a sword and I didn't like it, it would be deleted within 30 seconds.
Right.
And my argument was, no, these are literally Fleury's wishes. Like, at worst, Alan did it on his own, and Fleury was like, that's funny, leave it. Like, at worst or best, however you look at it. But this, I mean, this is a... Look how angry he looks.
Jesse,
I'm just waiting to play it.
All right,
play it.
So this is DeBoer talking about Ottinger, and sample size comes up.
Well, anytime you pull a goalie, you know, there's the reasoning's always to try and spark your group. So that was the number one reason. You know, we had talked endlessly in this series about trying to play with the lead. And obviously we were in a 2-0 hole right away. And you know what, I didn't take that lightly, and I didn't blame it all on Jake. But, you know, the reality is if you go back to last year's playoffs, you know, he's lost 6 to 7 games to Edmonton, and we gave up 2 shots on 2 goals in an elimination game. So, you know, it was partly to spark our team and wake them up, and partly, you know, knowing that, you know, status quo had not been working, and that's a pretty big sample size.
So
I don't want to blame it all on Jake, but
I don't want to blame it all on Jake, but here's an abundance of evidence of why he sucks. Yo, Jake DeBoer sucks so much for that.
Pete.
What did I say?
Jake DeBoer.
Jake DeBoer. Pete DeBoer sucks so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some
Otter's
people are
not
like,
going to get a chance to get back at this until October.
no. Dallas Stars locker cleanup is going to be must.
What I mean is on the ice.
I know.
And like I'd argue he doesn't even have to get a chance to get back at this till next May, April.
Yeah.
Because like those games in October, they're nice, but Dallas is about like how do we do in the playoffs? And Jake Ottinger got pulled from a playoff game. That's going to be his last one till next year's playoffs when he can finally show what he can do.
It's
a shame it played out this way.
So he allowed 2 goals on 2 shots. All right.
Yes.
I got that. But some people are like, well, he's right. It's 2 goals in an elimination game. First of all, one of them's on the power play. Really good setup from the Oilers. I can't remember the Janmark one, exactly how that went in. But you did it to spark your team, number 1. Well, you guys allowed a goal 58 seconds later. Good job. Number 2, spark your team. This is an elimination game on home ice. Why aren't they sparked? From opening faceoff, why aren't they sparked? Are you a shitty coach? Number 3, if you're going to bring up the past, if you're so goddamn smart, he's lost 6 of his last 7 games against Edmonton. Why is he starting? If you're going to bring up this series and dating back to last year as evidence for Ottinger not being good against the Oilers, let's pretend that's all true. Jake Ottinger stinks against the Oilers. Mm-hmm. It's a widely known fact, and I can prove it with numbers, said Pete DeBoer, who also goes by Jake sometimes when he wants to hide. Why is he starting that game then, if you're such a smart coach?
Hey, can I give you a sample size, guys?
What?
Pete DeBoer coaching record, 24-25 loses in round 3, 23-24 loses in round 3, 22-23 loses in round 3, 21-22 missed playoffs, 2021 round 3, 2019-20 round 3, 2018-19 round 3. So who can't win in the 3rd round?
Looks like Jake DeBoer.
3 different teams. Our good buddy Jake DeBoer can't get it done.
Yeah, no, Pete DeBoer.
Also, this was the Janmark goal that Ottinger allowed.
What's a breakaway?
I don't know if this one's his fault,
Jesse,
guys.
you need a save.
Anybody listening, Janmark is in alone on Jake Ottinger because the Dallas Stars blew their assignments.
So, okay, your team is not ready.
No.
And then the spark you tried to spark failed miserably. You got scored on 58 seconds later, and you now have a starting goalie who will never play for you ever again.
No,
for as long as he lives.
Yeah.
Who did a worse job last night than Pete DeBoer?
Well, he knew he was
anybody.
Cody
he knew
Ceci.
he was getting fired. Pete knew he was getting fired.
Is Cody Ceci the correct answer?
Cody Ceci is the correct answer.
Yeah.
But
I saw some people be like, you know what? He actually accomplished what he wanted to. Did you watch the game? Did you seriously? No. He pulled him at 2-0. It then became 3. Now, my son is coming up on the end of his first year in junior kindergarten, but one of the first things he learned was 3 is bigger than 2. You maniac.
wow, they start them early on that counting thing, huh?
Yes. Oh, yeah. The Dallas Stars started scoring because of Pete DeBoer being an asshole. What are you talking about? They weren't ready to play the game. He pulls his goalie, sewering that forever. He knows he's getting fired. And he gets scored on 58 seconds later. Mission accomplished. You stink. And there's an abundance of evidence that you stink.
The broadcast was talking about how they thought Ottinger might go back in the game to start the second period. And I thought that was an interesting conversation because I was like, okay.
I would be for that.
I can see
he
that.
maybe should have.
I can see you in the heat of the moment, 2 goals. Let's just put Jake back in there. It's like he'll get his head back ready. He'll it's water under the bridge at that point, I think. Because then you don't have to go post game and justify why you did it. And if Ottinger allows some more goals, then you're like, oh, I was right. He isn't capable of this. And if you want to just
you could have said, I wanted to give him a mental break.
Yeah.
Reset himself, get him back out there for the second period. We believe in Jake. We love Jake.
I think he should have gone that route at the very least.
Jake is competing with the guy he beat in the second round for Team USA goaltender, right? Ottinger, for so many reasons, is the reason they're there, right?
Otter
Hellebuck.
Yep.
Yeah. So many reasons. And let's be honest, Dallas defense last year was really good. The Dallas defense this year is, I don't know what Jim Nill was thinking.
It's lopsided. And
I feel like, it's easy to say that, well, third round, like, come on, we did pretty well. Let's be honest, though. This was not close. And
did you win or didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, but this is the point. If you're the general manager, you got to look at this and go, are we closer this year than last?
And we're not. Look at the Oilers, who lost in the second round. Mm-hmm. In 2023, when Vegas ended up winning it. They played Vegas harder than anybody, right? And it's funny because this is a conversation that's now coming up with the Leafs because they took Florida to 7 and now Florida's going to the Stanley Cup final. Mm-hmm. Okay, how did they take them to 7? How did it look? Do we look at the Leafs as stronger for how those 7 games went? No. They had an opportunity to go up 3-0.
Didn't do it.
They blew a 2-0 and 3-1 lead. They got beat 6-1 in Game 5 on home ice, and then they got beat 6-1 in Game 7 on home ice.
Do you regret?
The Oilers played a better 6-game series against Vegas than the Leafs did in 7 against Florida.
Do you regret defending them with the narrative that they were sick?
Well, I wasn't making it up. I wasn't defending them with that. I was just like, maybe this is why they stink.
All right.
You have to try to find reasons, right?
Yeah. Like
I get that.
If I had known there were 2 6-1 shit kickings coming down, mm-hmm. I might have just kept my mouth shut on that. But there was still at the time reason to be like, listen, every time they lose or they blow it, you can't be like, oh, it's the same old Leafs, right? That happened against Ottawa. Ottawa, they win the first 3. Game 4 went to overtime. That's tight. All right. Game 5, you blow it. And it wasn't me freaking out. It was me going, don't you dare. Don't you. 4-0 on home ice. 3-0. Don't you dare. Mm-hmm. And then they come back in Game 6 and they win. And I go, okay, great. And they reward me with Game 1 against Florida. Oh, great. Game 2 against Florida. Oh, great. And that earns you Game 3. Oh. But then they just completely shit the bed. Mm-hmm. I still think, who knows, they might have been sick, but hell of an illness.
I don't think that just that narrative, I don't think they should ever get that benefit of the doubt ever.
Well, not anymore.
No.
At the time, like, we should have known.
Well, that's what I was trying to shake, though, is you can't, like, the Leafs are deeply resentful, you can tell, of living with the sins of the past, especially the guys who just got here. Like, even Brad Treliving in that press conference, we'll get to it, he's talking about, like, I've been here 2 years, but I know what happened before.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but when you take this job and you make that money, you take on what happened before. Mm-hmm. Sorry, but
yes, that's what he said.
Yeah.
No.
I know. He's the only one who owns that, though. Like Dubas wouldn't. Oh, I wasn't here. Shanny. I wasn't here.
Yes, like, they're not here anymore.
They're not here, and they should. And this is guys who are here. So it's funny having you on my right and Adam on my left. It's like both sides of my brain are talking. Like during that series, that was the conversation going on in my head. Mm-hmm. But this. And that's why I was like, you know what? It's conceivable. And I had heard from a few people that this might be going on. What we discovered is, oh no, they just don't have it.
I think those people telling you those things were people making excuses.
Yeah. Like you can lose in the second round and look like cup contenders. And you can lose in the third round and look like you're nowhere near ready.
Yeah, I think like at the end of this thing, we got the 2 correct teams. And the way the Stars and the Hurricanes lose in the conference finals, it's not that they were one step away from those 2 teams that defeated them. I think those 2 teams got to look at what they did as a whole, and they got to say that they're not as close as they think they are because they got to go up against the 2 correct teams that should make the finals. And yeah, these series weren't close. And yeah, if you lose in the second round, if you're Colorado, you got to look at like, hey, we were right there and it's a missed opportunity, and why do we miss those opportunities? And I think that Edmonton Vegas series is a perfect example. Like there's a team that in 23 was ready to take this step and just couldn't do it.
And you know what they did, guys? They made changes.
Yeah.
They went and got Ekholm.
Well, and they started shitty though.
Oh,
remember
sure.
we were all like, "Oh, they're cooked."
As soon as, because Woodcroft was like, you know what? I'm going to change everything about how this team plays defense. Yeah. And it was like, well, that's not going to work, Jay.
Well,
and it was clear.
Sure
didn't. And Chris Knobloch's like, how about we just let them be what they are?
And he's been to 2 straight Cup finals. Like the Oilers made it to the 3rd round in 2022, and they looked better when they got eliminated in the 2nd round in 2023.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah. Well, DeBoer's not. I would be shocked if Jim Nill allowed DeBoer back in the dressing room for locker cleanout. Like I don't know how you survive comments like that. If Ottinger and DeBoer are in the same room, are they going to be able to talk? I would be furious.
I would almost.
Is he the coach come Monday?
He can't be. That's a problem.
If you got to put money on it, which side are you picking?
No.
I'm going to say no as well.
If I was Jim Nill,
I would put 5 $2 Steves on that.
Oh, whoa.
I'm really to go to the wall.
A lot.
If I was Jim Nill, I might honestly consider not firing him until after locker cleanup, just so he has to go through that experience. Just sit there and answer those questions.
Yeah.
You like hockey. Hockey is a people business. And a lot of it is about making friends and being likable. Mm-hmm. Like within your community, right? Like Sam Bennett is not making friends by elbowing everybody in the head, but
he's a good guy off the ice, and you can have a beer with him.
His teammates friggin' love him.
Yeah.
I think every time you leave the ice, you're like, fucking bastard, I hate that guy, and I wish he was on my team.
Man, Colin Campbell must be a riot.
Oh, hockey is full of dudes who suck at their jobs but seem like they're awesome at the bar. They must be legendary banter. Absolute dog ass at their job. Absolute bounce their ass at that job.
Yeah.
But great banter.
Great banner.
Great banner. And do we think Pete DeBoer's great banner?
I'm sure he's quite sardonic and funny.
He seems a little prickly.
I think he thinks so.
Okay.
Like
you don't think he seems a little prickly?
I think he's a bit. Yeah. I think he's a bit prickly, but I think if you got him out relaxed, he might be a good, because guys, ultimately he keeps getting hired. Yeah, well, and he's going to get hired again. He's been at that many conference finals. So there's going to be some team that's like, you know what, we can do it with Pete.
A job, your coach's job is not necessarily to be likable, but I don't know if the Leafs are going out and ripping beers with Craig Berube, but they respect him. Mm-hmm. Right? A lot of coaches out there aren't necessarily great friends with all their players, but they're respected. Oh boy, I don't know how you respect a coach that talks about one of your guys like that.
I don't think you do. I don't think you can.
That's terrible. That's really bad.
Now, there was booing in Edmonton in the arena when Connor McDavid touched the Clarence Campbell Bowl, I think it's called.
Which is funny.
Yeah, I think that's hilarious. And I love his comments afterwards. So why'd you touch it? He's like, well, we didn't touch it last year and we didn't win.
Yeah.
So why not touch it this year? What the hell does it matter?
I think everyone is forgetting how fun it is to get drunk with strangers and yell at things.
Yeah. Like what? Your team's going to the Stanley Cup final. Of course you're going to boo if there's a little jinx thing going on.
If I was in there.
Yeah.
No!
You're also a Leaf fan, though.
Yeah.
Right? Oilers fans, they've been, with the exception of the cup that awaits them.
Right.
They have been, it's been pretty good. And that's the guy that got you there.
Yeah.
I don't blame the booing at all. I think that was a funny boo.
Yeah, very funny.
But it's one of those where I was surprised to see him touch it, but I am so glad he did, because as Duthie keeps saying, and I keep saying it too, it has nothing to do with what's happened before or what happens in the future.
No,
Stop the
guys are all over.
That's not how things work, Adam.
You're all over.
Jinxes work. You got to wear the jersey that you're wearing the day the game you won the game. You got to wear the same suit you wore to walk in. All that stuff. It's sports.
You're crushing beers with strangers in an empty building. There is no game being played.
How much fun would that be?
And just scream at it. Just scream at the screen. It's very funny. I wish I was there. Seems like a great time.
Okay, you guys remember those big wallets that our dads used to carry around? The ones that they'd drop it on a table, be like thud.
Quarter of cow.
Yeah, the wallets that give you sciatica.
Yes.
Because you can put it in your back pocket and your hips are just all adjusted.
What's wrong, Doc? Well, all I can tell you is I sat on a 45-degree angle for 30 years.
Monos Slim Wallet. I actually use it. Yes, this is my wallet. Yes, that's my TD Access card without the number in it.
Oh my God. Adam.
What's your pin? What's your pin? Tell me your pin.
You're getting
Chicken? You're chicken.
I actually use this, and it's actually the best. Now, Steve knows that I hate carrying stuff, owning stuff, and this is minimalism. And this is why you're going to love the Mono Slim wallet. Now, if you need a little bit more, right? For extra cards, maybe you're like, you're a points card fiend and you love getting your 15% off or whatever it is. There is also the Slim Wallet Pro, same clean design as this one, but a little extra, some more holders and a quick access card holder. So you can you don't even have to pull the card out of your wallet. Just go bang on the cashier, bang, boom,
boom.
like that chef who used to say bang.
bang.
Yeah,
exactly.
that guy.
Exactly. Now, the great thing about today's wallets is we don't need to carry pictures of our kids around. We don't need to carry coins. We don't need to carry bills in most cases. So most of that's on your phone anyway. Why not have a wallet that actually matches your lifestyle? And it's tough because it's Monos made. And frankly, it's also a really great price, especially when you get the discount code. Now, the discount code you're going to love.
What is it?
It's monos.com/Steve.
Oh, this guy.
Get yourself a Steve discount code. Request. All you have to do is get your 15% off. Go to monos.com/Steve. monos.com/Steve. 15% off your first purchase at Monos. And it's all their wallets plus everything else too. I want to move to Brad Treliving.
Brad Treliving.
Brad Treliving should have spoken with Keith Pelly. Normally that's what happens, but his daughter was getting
She had her graduation.
I was trying to send Jesse a link and say it at the same time, and I can't do that.
Good job.
Can't
All
do
right.
that. Now, there's a few things, obviously, from this press conference. This press conference was roughly 40 minutes long when they cut it down. But I want to start it by saying, if you're a non-Leafs fan, I can understand why you're going to be like, why is this a big deal? It's a huge deal here, because they failed out again in the playoffs.
Yep.
And they didn't fail out easy. They didn't fail out like the way Vegas did. Vegas lost in 5 games, but you know what? They lost the last game in overtime 1-0. They went out fighting.
They fought.
The Leafs were like, how about we get outscored 12-2 in our final 2 home games? and so that naturally gets you to a place where you're like, I'm curious to hear what the general manager has to say. And I have to tell you, this was one of those press conferences that stands out in the sense that Brad was up there alone. He didn't have Shanny beside him basically going like, hey, don't say that. Don't say that.
Shiving him with a fork.
And it starts with, he talked about a little bit about the whole season. One of the areas they identified, defense and goaltending, they wanted to rebuild, and they did that. And let's start with where he thinks the biggest issue on the Leafs defense is. And shockingly, we all know this to be true. Jesse, go ahead and click play, and he'll say, really good job.
What time?
It didn't go right to the time?
What time? Yeah, what time
sorry, give me a sec. Yeah, 3:37.
All right. Let's go to 3:37 on the YouTube video and hit play.
Brad Treliving.
You need to move pucks, and that's an area that we got to continue to improve in. And I think all those players had a positive impact. Obviously, in Yanni's case, we knew going into the summer, in talking to him, that there was risk, and we went through that process, and we took a swing, and it didn't work out. But we'll always continue to look at if there's times to take swings, we're going to try to take swings. It didn't work out, but I think that defense and those guys, even in Philip Meyer's case, in the role that he played for our team, did a really good job. We then looked at our goaltending.
Okay, we'll stop there.
Adam, I don't know if you remember what happened 50 minutes ago, but I teased that Brad Treliving gave me a gift.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Oh, it was the gift.
Yes.
A puck-moving defenseman.
Yes,
he says he needs.
He came up to me after the press conference and he said, that's Steve Dangle Podcast. You guys have been some of the biggest supporters of Yanni Hakanpää this entire season.
No, he didn't
joking.
say that.
And
no, he didn't.
One person in particular on the show has been, and that's Maddie. Producer Maddie Mad
That's
Dog.
right.
And he handed me
No.
You're absolutely joking.
a Yanni Hakanpää
No, he
Leafs
didn't.
jersey.
Treliving?
Brad Treliving gave you this?
For our producer
You're making
Maddie.
this
That
up.
did not. You're making this up.
You're making this
That's
up.
a jersey. There's no way.
On the back of this jersey, Hakanpää 28
Yo.
for Maddie.
I think that's the only one in the city. That's incredible.
That jersey is from our friends at Fanatics.
Yeah.
Who?
You made me believe.
Yeah, they have the accent on it. Maddie, yeah, if you want to thank our friends at Fanatics.
I'd like
for
to
sending
thank
this jersey.
all my fans.
But also fan.
No, and you got to thank Hawkenpop
I'd like
too.
to thank Brad Treliving.
Yeah.
I'd like
Oh,
to
throw it
thank
on,
Johnny.
yeah.
No, you got to put it on.
Jesse, you made me believe. I'm never going to forgive you. I really believe.
It would have been great if he had. Like,
No, he didn't do any of that stuff.
Yanni, love you.
I'm sorry for using you for a bit, Brad.
sorry it didn't
What's
work out for you, Yanni.
Ankle?
Knee.
Hope it gets better.
So, Maddie, there you go. I think you might be the only person alive with a Yanni Hawkenpop Leafs jersey.
There's gonna be
Hawkenpop truther.
There's going to be at least 2 that go out afterwards and get one, just so that Maddie's not the only one. The Hawken,
Isn't that fun?
yeah,
The Hawken pack.
the Hawken pack, or if it's Dad's, the Hawken Pops.
The Hawken pack.
The Hawken back with the
Let's go.
I love that. So
I cannot believe that.
he talked about Chris Tanev, he talked about OEL, he talked about Carlo at the deadline, talked about the Hawkenpop thing not working out. Philip Myers gets brought up. They rebuilt the defense this year.
Uh-huh.
But the thing about the Leafs, and this has always been the case since we were complaining about Roman Polak, is they can't move the puck out of the zone as much as they need to.
Well, Dubas tried to get guys who could do it, but they were ass at defense is the problem. Like Liljegren can make that pass.
Tyson Barrie can make that pass.
Tyson Barrie, Rasmus Sandin, it's starting to
Justin
look like
Hall?
maybe they should have kept Justin Hall.
Yeah, Keefe didn't like Rasmus Sandin. I think that's why.
Well, he tried him on the right, and then when people were like, why don't you keep trying it? And he's like, did you see when I tried it? And it's true. Like the Leafs needed someone to fill in on the right, and he was terrible.
Right.
And that is, yes, on the right. And it was a problem. It was not good. Now, what's interesting to me, though, is Brad is talking about all these guys coming in, having a good impact. They swung and missed on Yanni Hawkenpop, but if Yanni Hawkenpop was healthy, he wouldn't have helped with what Brad Treliving is talking.
Exactly.
Yes.
Which is moving the puck. I still support that signing. If you have a chance to get a guy who can do what Hawkenpop does, which was something the Leafs lacked so badly, huge in front of the net. He led in hits. He led in block shots. He led in penalty kill ice time. He led in... The Leafs made a huge effort to try to improve their penalty kill and, I don't know, varying degrees of success, right? But Hawkenpop was part of that. But he is right. This team needs to move the puck. What is interesting is he seems to be like, yeah, but the guys we have need to get better at that.
Right.
On account of they're all locked up and I'm not trading them.
Well, and Pierre LeBrun has already come out and said, because and this has been one of my things. I think you have to move on from Morgan Riley. And Pierre LeBrun said, well, Morgan Riley loves being a Leaf and he's not moving his no trade clause. And I've heard that before many, many times. And I've seen so many guys say, I'm not moving, and then they move. I think personally, people are talking about, oh, don't re-sign Tavares if you really want to change the DNA. I love Morgan Riley as a person. He is, for me, a flawed defenseman. But also has done some amazing things in Toronto.
I love him as a guy.
He's a great guy. And it breaks my heart to say this, but I think it's time to move on. And, I think, and this we'll get into this more as this press conference goes on, I need the Leafs to be 2 things: ruthless and decisive. And in that order. And the teams that are ruthless, Florida, Vegas,
New York. Because it doesn't always work.
Oh, you mean not on the ice? You mean from?
From a managerial
okay,
perspective.
Okay, sorry.
What the Leafs need now is ruthlessness. You need to be a little mean. And you need to say,
100% agree with that.
You won't wave? Then don't come to camp. You're not on the team. We have to move on. Let's find a better solution. And I know that sounds really harsh, but at a certain point, you have to say, are we changing the DNA or are we not? Is everything on the table or is it not? Oh, he won't waive his no trade clause. Cool. So you know what? Let's let one guy who the previous GM gave a frankly overpaid contract to, said it from day one, still believe it. We gave him too much money and we gave him a no move deal, the entirety of it.
Yeah.
and we're going to let him determine how our roster is going to look next year. Sorry, not the Toronto Maple Leafs of now.
If your goal is to win, you have to do everything in your power to win. And if not having Morgan Rielly on your team makes you better and gets you closer to winning, then you have to do everything in your power to not have him on that team. So if they believe that, then I 100% agree with you that they have to be ruthless and get to that goal.
Right, because I believe that. I'll just put that out there.
Let me apply some things. Like, if you asked me in February, like, hey, Steve, there's an offer for the Leafs to trade Max Domi, is that a good thing? I'd be like, yes, 100%. Now I'm like, he elevated in the playoffs.
He's a gamer. That. Guy's fearless.
Calle Yarncroke, you put him in the lineup next season, I think he scores 15, 20 goals. He has 5 goals in like 110, whatever it is, Stanley Cup playoff games. I don't want him. I don't need a player with that stat line on my hockey team. Morgan Rielly does and did again this year elevate in the playoffs.
And then what happened on the Seth Jones goal?
So this is what I was going to say. Does his performance against Florida undo everything?
Yes.
Yeah. Because this is the is it the core 4 or is it the core 5? Let's be honest. It's the core 5. Well,
sounds
without Mitch and potentially Tavares, like it just puts more emphasis on Morgan.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, so you got 4 guys making all the money up front, and then you have one. I mean, I don't know. Rielly might be overpaid. I don't think he's like grossly overpaid. Like every team has a top defenseman. But now if you're looking to rejig the money, 7.5 is kind of a lot.
And more important than that, and we'll get to it, Brad said DNA change.
I know. But he also talked about moving the puck, and how are you going to fix that by getting rid of Morgan Rielly?
That's what he's paid $5 million a year for.
Is that how much Brad makes?
4 or 5, something like that.
No wonder he got.
No
wonder he got Matty the jersey.
Shanny was making 7.
Like it's pocket change.
Shanny's making 7, so probably 4 or 5 million.
Okay,
that's a lot.
By the way, Leafs and Brad mentions this. I have to say, I thought he shone in this press conference. I thought he was great.
He shines in every press conference.
13, 2,
great banner.
Yeah.
With
13, 2, and 1 down the stretch, he mentioned.
The press conference itself, just being there, and the monologue he has off the top was very unusual. This isn't something GMs do, and having the press conference at 40 minutes plus a 10-minute scrum afterwards, like having a 50-minute avail from Brad Treliving was a little odd. Like usually it's not this much looking back on the season. Like, and that's all, I think a large part of the reason that like the reporters and us were in the room was to not look back on the season. It was to see what they're doing with the team going forward, because we know how the season played out. So it was a little odd to hear him go into so much detail and depth off the top of the press conference into like everything that played out last season. He mentioned Samsonov and signing and moving on from Samsonov and signing Stollers. And he started from way back then and gave us the whole retrospective on the season. And it was sitting there. It was like, okay, we're getting everything you think about this because you're kind of dumping because you don't speak to us often during the season. But it was a little odd to hear him go into everything.
I think it's 2 things. It's the Leafs are obsessed with controlling the narrative, but like also he's just answering questions that he knows he's going to get asked anyway, which I think is kind of nice.
I don't know if he was going to get asked about what it was like signing Stollers over Samsonov.
Well, no, but he might have. Right? So here I am. I'm going to cover.
I know. No, I don't think there was.
Well, if I was there,
I don't think anybody in the room was looking for these. That's what I'm trying to say.
I'd be like, what went into signing Dakota Mermis?
the things Brad explained I think it was roughly like a 10-15 minute monologue. Yeah. The things he explained there weren't kind of details we were there to get the answers for. Like, we want to know about Mitch. We want to know about Nyes. We want to know about JT.
Third question for Mitch.
Which is, I think, a little late. Brad Treliving joked about that. We want to know about the Austin Matthews injury and why you didn't shut him down. We got those answers. And this part, I think it's fascinating from a fan's perspective just to hear him talk about that. And it's different and rare that he did that.
Here's why you got 50 minutes. What did Keith Pelly say a few days ago?
Embrace the media, embrace the fans. Stop treating it like it's a problem. And if you listen to the John Shannon, Darren Millard podcast that the NHL's put out, Keith Pelly does an interview there, and he said I know that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like, I know that these guys often see it as like a necessary evil. I need them to embrace it. And that is part of playing here. The
more answers you give us, the fewer questions I will have. I promise.
Yeah.
But if they're good answers.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're shit answers, maybe I will have
I'll be
more,
honest,
but
holding back on the real, this is like what I have found from the Leafs in the past, and you mentioned it in the Treliving video that you did on your LFR channel.
I'm so good.
It's the best. It's the greatest. 250 is pretty lame, by the way, though. Like, that's your only 250? Are you kidding me?
Oh.
No.
Subscribers, for anybody who doesn't know what they're talking about. Steve Dangle hit 250 subscribers on his channel, which is 250,000 subscribers on his channel, which is a really cool moment.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's friggin' amazing, by the way. It's amazing.
Did Brad give you a cake to give me?
He did not.
A jersey with 250 on the back?
He said, you're the reason Shanahan doesn't have a job anymore, and he's quite upset at you.
Yeah.
I think Shaney should have listened to me earlier if I had that much power.
I think that, Jesse, you're right. You hit on something. I think that what we saw in the past, and I referenced the referendum on Cody Ceci, that comment by Dubas to me really summed up that era, which is, you guys are dumb. You only get to watch the games. You don't know what we know, and stop asking.
Can I go in on Dubas for a sec?
Sure.
Since you mentioned that?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll just be talking to someone they're just a random fan, and they'll make a point that is so brilliantly simple. I'm like, oh yeah, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Dubas came in and he paid all the best players all the money. Any idiots could do that. Any moron off the street
and
could
be like, three of those 4 contracts he overpaid. John Tavares he underpaid. The Sharks were willing to go to 13.
And what I thought, like a lot of people, is, well, he's this analytics wunderkind, and he's going to come in, and they've spent all this money on the good players. He's going to come in and surround them with all these diamonds in the rough, and he gave us an army of Dennis Malgins.
Nick Patan. Nick Ritchie.
Like, they're not all going to work out.
Mike Bunting worked.
Alex Barabanov doesn't work, and then you trade him, and he does.
The cap was also supposed to go up, so things look better, paying them all the money, and COVID happened, blah, 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 blah.
Blah, 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 blah. But again, smartest person in the room, even if the cap doesn't go up, all right, go out there and be smart guy. Mm-hmm. He took the best players, gave them all the money and all this crazy trade protection. Any dumbass could have come in and done that. Hi, so you're coming in here, I'm coming in here, we're going to come in way closer to your number than mine, and you get full trade protection, and I'm going to do it for all 4 of you, and I have no money left to spend, and I can't find talent to surround you guys.
And when
you know what? I think he actually did a shit job.
And when I eventually reach your number, it's going to play out in the media, so everybody hates you.
Like, that guy... Yes, that too.
Like the number you want right now, I'm going to give it to you, but we're going to wait 6 months. And in that 6 months, you're going to be a pariah.
And also,
Dubas did not do a fantastic
job. The guy doesn't understand defense or goaltending, as far as I've seen. And
he got a raise and a promotion.
2022 draft. Leafs are losing a very injured Freddie Anderson, who remains injured but is still playing and played pretty well these playoffs. You cannot take away Freddie Anderson's performance except for a few games, but playoff Freddie is, I'm allowing 0 goals or I'm allowing 6. We know that. He is the original Stuart Skinner.
Thank you.
So what is so what does he do? Well, I'm gonna trade for Matt Murray, who's got half a hip, and I'm gonna get Peter Mrazek.
Matt Murray's qualifications.
We started a season with Matt Murray, who was on a bad deal from the Senators because he was injured, and I feel bad for him, and Peter Mrazek. Mm-hmm. Are we serious?
Was that the Jack Campbell year?
The Jack Campbell left because the Oilers signed him.
Yeah, those are the 2 start. Who ended up starting?
Because
Matt Murray started and played okay, and then went down with the injury, and then it was Peter Mrazek.
It was like Freddie Hutchinson. And then they went to Freddie Campbell.
Yeah.
And then it was like Campbell Freddie.
Right.
Then it was Campbell. Who?
Oh God, I think that was when the switchover happened because Campbell went there 2 or 3 years ago.
Man, I
think he's year 3 of that deal.
With a retrospective now,
it's painful, and you've got to know that. That's what you're paid for.
But I thought, he's going to sign all these diamond in the rough deals. He's going to, find these guys, find this guy, find that guy. And what idiots like can't just get the job and be like, I'm giving all the money to our best players.
Well, and the organizational ethos too is like, we like to do right by the player. I'm sorry, what about right by the organization?
Oh, frig off. Like, I mean, maybe it helped them get super marginal free agents. Like, I don't know. The book could be written on that era now that it's done and we have hindsight.
And the reason,
holy shit!
The reason, by the way, that we all felt that way is because that's what we were told by the organization. This kid is going to be incredible. You look what he did with the
I was
Greyhounds.
so stoked.
I was absolutely so stoked and ready for those results. And year after year after year, it didn't come. And, decisions like, again, I'm going to bring this up because this was my fucking shit at the time. And I'm so right on this. And sometimes I'm rarely right. So you got to give this to me. The Jared McCann for Justin Hall. And people are like, that's not how it went. It was to protect Alex Kerfoot. That makes it worse.
No, but
that's worse.
But Dubas comes up with that logic and he presents it to Shanahan and it's on camera. Shanahan's like, oh, okay, so we're doing that. So it's like this. Oh, okay, great.
Both of them.
And then we find out they have this like terrible relationship and
that happened later. They had a good relationship.
I think you have the goaltending thing a little wrong.
Okay, what was
because 21-22 is Campbell Mrazek that year. And then 22-23 is
Murray.
Samsonov, Murray, Shalgren, Wall.
When was okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was a little off.
Yeah, you're a little off
and
with that.
the reason they got you're right, because the reason they got Samsonov is because Washington didn't tender him.
Yeah, Samsonov was on the team in the 22-23
right
season. Yeah.
Okay.
And the year
right.
before is the
My
Campbell
bad.
year.
Eric Shelgren, by the way, one of the guys who got one of those big bottles of beer because they played against Alex Ovechkin and didn't allow a goal.
No.
That's good.
There's a bunch of goalies on that list who are there because they played like 7 games.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
Like it's everybody, no matter it's 1 or 7.
Yeah.
Now, Treliving, can we go to 829?
Yeah.
And it talks about big moments. We talk about wanting to meet the moment. Meet the moment. And Brad Treliving talks about pushing through and embracing those big moments. Because listen, you can Steve, you hit on this, I think it was last week or something like that.
So good. So good.
When you go to like university, it's like, well, if you look at my semester on the whole, I did pretty good. Yeah, how'd you do on the exam? Oh, I failed it. Well, you're going to become perilously close to failing the course if you fail the exam, because the exams are usually 30 to 50% of the course.
Man, I kill the lectures though.
Yeah, man, I was there taking notes every lecture.
You should see my notes. I didn't process or learn from any of them, but man, I can write.
In fact, sometimes I record it and get AI to transcribe it for me afterwards. I'm so smart.
Listen and write. Learning isn't about regurgitation, it's about application.
So let's talk about those big moments where the Leafs didn't come up big enough. 829, Jesse, go ahead.
We had a good start. I know we all talk about 5 and 7, and we'll get to that. In my mind, I believe a big moment in that series is Game 3. You're playing against the Stanley Cup champions. You got a chance to get them on the mat. We're up 2-0. We're up 3-1. Critical moment.
But they were
weren't able
sick.
to close that out.
Shut up.
Not to close out the series, but
You're an asshole.
It was okay, guys.
lead is we know what the odds are and the percentages there if we were to get ourselves in that position. We're still in a series. It's 2-1. You're playing against the champs. Game 5 here. Critical moment. Series is tied.
Who keeps coughing?
We weren't good enough.
Jesse, name names.
In the moment. We go to Game 6. All the credit to the staff, the players. They win a big Game 6 on the road, and then we come back for Game 7. And that series is going to stay with me for a long time. The way it ended will stay with me for a long time. It would stay with me if it was 2-1 in triple overtime. When you think you have a chance to win and you don't, it stays with you. But as I review this and as it dovetails now into and I apologize for being long-winded into how we go forward, I first give a lot of credit to Florida. Your opponent and the enemy has a say in things, and if you look at that critical moment in Game 7, I don't care if you're playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs, if you're playing in the whatever sport, you're playing in the Masters, you're in your own business. champions have the ability to be calm and at their very best when it matters the most.
There we go. Pause it there.
And that is
There it is.
And he talks about embracing it and whatever. But, you know, he repeats it several different ways throughout the press conference. The point is, it's champions have the ability to be calm and at their very best when it matters the most. And you know who I saw that from last night? Connor McDavid.
Oh.
And he's not even a champ yet.
No.
He's a Clarence Campbell Bowl champ 2-time.
You know what?
But he's not a Stanley Cup champ.
It's something.
But
Four Nations.
Four Nations champ.
Wait.
Hey.
Wait.
Well, you know what?
In some ways, that one means a lot more than the Stanley
when
Cup.
he lifts the cup up, he's going to be like, the Four Nations was better.
Yeah.
He should bring the trophy out with him.
Yeah. I prefer this one.
Just hold it with the Conn Smythe and balance the cup on his head.
Steve, what do you think would have happened with the tariffs if USA would have won?
Oh,
I think we, you know what, Jesse? I've
Don't
spent
make him- don't do
0
this. Don't do
seconds thinking about that hypothetical.
No, you didn't.
Everyone wanted to know what Canada would do if they didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
So I think that he said right there what most Leaf fans have felt, but maybe haven't articulated in quite that way, which is these guys don't do it. And he said, we got to learn how to do it, which leads us to the next one about the DNA having to change. 11:29, Jesse.
at the most critical moments.
Oh, just rewind it a little bit. Maybe it's 11:27.
Best. Between the years, personnel to be our very best at the most critical moments. There's some DNA that has to change in our team. That's one thing that I found. If you keep getting to the same result, and that's not to dismiss a lot of the good that happened up into it.
KC dismiss.
When you keep getting the same
Terrible.
result, there's some DNA that needs to change. And so that's on me now going forward in our staff.
It's growing on me.
Although we've been done for a little bit, we've just now started, talked about the changes that have happened in the organization the last few days. We've now started the planning, and it's early for putting together our team for 25-26.
So, that comment was that if there was a headline of this press conference, I think it was the DNA one. Jesse,
Yes, 100%.
So when he says that, what was the reaction in the room?
He does not say much afterwards.
Yeah.
Like that's the truth of the thing. He says in there, he says we need to change the DNA of the team. And then now we're going to do the planning and the moving forward. And that's kind of his answer on everything else. You asked him about Mitch. It's we're going to sit down and we're going to plan about it. But he gives a little insight on what happened post Game 7. We'll do that and all that stuff. And JT is kind of the same thing. But the ethos of the whole thing is that now he's admitting there's a DNA change that has to happen, which is, you're correct, the headline of the whole thing.
And he says, last year, everything's on the table.
Yes.
And this is where I, as a Leaf fan, need to send a big old warning to management.
Mm-hmm.
You said last year everything was on the table. You did a good job bringing in Anthony Stolarz. No one is going to criticize that. Fantastic. That might be the best value contract signed last July 1st.
No. Free agents are always on the table. Adam, tell him what you mean.
You did a great job rebuilding the defense. I was a big fan of that this year. Okay? When you talk about everything being on the table last year, okay? And we know that now, I think Friedgen reported this morning that there might have been a conversation between Vegas and Toronto about a Marner-Theodore swap that Vegas didn't want. So that means the Leafs called. Vegas said no thanks, and that was it. It's not really much there.
I offered Steven Lorentz for Leon Draisaitl. Edmonton said no.
Yeah. I offered $1 for that Ferrari. It's crazy. Now, I'm not saying Mitch Marner's $1. Or that Mitch Marner is Steven Lorentz, but I'm saying
I love Steven Lorentz.
Vegas was like, no. The point I'm trying to make here is, okay, cool, it better be.
Oh.
The DNA thing, okay, cool, you want to change the DNA, you better.
I can't believe there's a soul alive talking about Marner re-signing.
There's so many souls.
Forget about whether it is a good or a bad thing.
Hi, you're stupid, according to most at Twitter.
That's okay. That's okay. I mean, that's been the case.
There were people that were upset with you for, well, I can't believe people are the media talking about Chris Kreider was coming to Toronto. Dude, the guy had 75 points a year and a half ago.
I didn't
like Chris Kreider.
I didn't say
When he's
I like
healthy.
not broken Chris Kreider.
When he's healthy.
Yeah.
I didn't say, hey, do this and only this and give up 5 first-round picks to do it.
I think that's what you said, but anyway.
Anyway, I can't believe there's a soul alive. Is having Marner on this team at, I don't know, $13 million, is it a good thing? I don't know. Is it a bad thing? I don't know. That's not what the conversation is about. The GM says the DNA has to change. What could you do that's more significant than losing that player?
Nothing.
Now,
Austin.
You're losing. Yeah.
Austin
you're
would be the
trading,
other thing.
literally, Jesse,
Yeah.
trading Austin Matthews.
It's the list is literally trade Austin, lose Mitch. If you're talking about changing players, like those are the priority in changing the DNA. And if
Yes.
you're not doing one, hey, 2 is an option.
Yes. Bringing back John Tavares, that maybe doesn't help you change the DNA, but if he does it at the right number, okay, there's some logic
If he's
there.
$5 million and he's just John,
Yeah.
as you said,
And he's just John. He's some
not
guy
4-4. He's
maybe
just-
doesn't even wear a letter.
Yeah.
But bringing Mitch back at a raise, you have lost your mind. If you think, if the goal is to be, I don't know if we're going to be better, I don't know if we're going to be worse, we just need to be different.
I'm down
If your
for a
goal
step
is to
back
be
here.
different, you can't bring this player back at a significant raise. You've lost your mind.
And I don't think anybody within the circles of the Leafs or within the media is having the conversation of Mitch returning, because it's not even 2 feet out the door at this point. Like he's driving on the Gardner. That's how far he's left the Leafs at
The
this
Gardner?
point.
Yeah, I think he's at the border.
Jesse, yeah, he's like down near Windsor.
Oh,
Yeah.
Windsor. Oh, you can go
I think
Mexico.
He
even?
should have gone Buffalo first. I don't know
Yeah.
why he took the Windsor exit.
Oh,
I feel
okay.
like, the Windsor exit's 5 hours. You could be in Buffalo in an hour and a half.
Jesse, he's driven far enough that the pizza's different.
Should he keep going? Is he at the Mexican border? Is he at? Is he in Ecuador? Is it all the tip of South America? Like, where are we
This
going?
isn't Super Troopers. You boys like Mexico, and then he goes down south and loses a game 7 there.
I think like everybody within this thing realizes he does not want to be a Leaf anymore. And at the end of the day, it's up to him. It's not whether or not the Leafs want to bring him back. It's his decision. I don't think they want him either. And he doesn't want to be here. It's done. And people need to come to grips with that at this point.
Well, and CJ said it on the CJ show this morning. He said, I don't know why everyone's so afraid to say it.
Yes.
And I was like, I know. We've been talking about it. He's gone.
Yeah.
Every source out there,
And they're losing
including
him
the
for nothing,
minimal
and it
ones
sucks.
that we have, are saying he gone.
He gone.
And he has been gone for a little bit.
Jonas Siegel says in his article, it was pretty clear in the 23-24 season he stopped enjoying his time here.
Yeah. Steve, do you want to do a little role playing?
Oh, hell yeah.
So you're John Tavares, and then you're going to be Mitch Marner. I'm going to ask you, hey, because you're really good at the JT impression.
So wait, I'm starting with John?
You're going to start with John, and I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you a question of scrum. Okay?
I'm pretty nervous.
Because if it's the media, right? It's Masters, it's
here we go.
Alter, it's Koshan,
not Masters.
it's CJ there. It's Luke Fox, who's not like the best teddy bear anybody's ever had. You know,
Luke
that can just
Fox, right?
Yeah, no,
Like fucks with your
yeah, Luke fucks with you. Yeah, no, we're there.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that.
We're there in the scrum.
More like Luke Fucks. All right, Jesse, we got a name for the podcast.
No,
Type
we're
in
not
Luke
doing that
Fucks.
one. So your post game after a win, or it's practice or something. It's a Tuesday morning. It's a practice. We're at Ford Performance, and we're like, John, there's been a lot of conversation about your contract. Do you want to return as a Toronto Maple Leaf next year?
Yeah, my time here in Toronto's been incredible. It's been some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. Every time I put on that uniform, I get giddy. I love being a Leaf. My family lives here, and I want to be here for the rest of my career.
Wow, you nailed that. That's well done.
Yeah, it was great.
The important part there is you said you want to be a Leaf for the rest of your career. Now, the next guy comes to the scrum, and we go, Mitch, your contract's expiring. There's been a lot of conversation about trade rumors. You turned down a trade. Do you want to return to the Toronto Maple Leafs next year, Mitch?
Yeah, like I said, just waiting for the end of the season. Haven't even processed that yet. And, we'll think about it. I've really enjoyed my time here. And,
It's actually not bad.
being
That's
a
really
Leaf.
good.
And,
Got a flush game set.
we'll see what the summer holds.
You got to flush games. Yeah, you got to throw it. We got to flush that one.
We gotta flush that and gotta flush it.
That's actually really good.
I know.
CJ, like he thank God he said it yesterday, but we've been asking this guy for 365 days, for 82 games a season, every practice, in all these scrums, every playoff game. Hey, you want to be a Leaf next season. And he's had the layup to just say yes. And he's never said it. And there's a reason he hasn't said it. It's because he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to return to the team, and he's done and he's gone. And we all have to accept that.
That's okay.
I don't blame it on him.
I don't blame it on him either.
I don't.
I mean, I wish it had gone better, but I don't blame that
But
on him.
I think there was a time where, his no move kicked in. Okay. And he fought for that and he didn't want to go. I do think there's a time where he should have absolutely been open to it. And it's a little confusing why he wasn't.
Yeah.
This season, not accepting a trade I would have made the exact same decision as him.
Yeah.
No way. I'm going to uproot my life right now? No.
And with my wife about to give birth
No.
in the middle of the playoffs? Are you out of your mind?
No, don't you remember like a big reason why we were so upset about the NHL's treatment of John Scott during all that All-Star stuff is he got traded in the middle of it. His wife was ready to burst with twins.
Yeah.
Like it's
And also, they're like, John, you wouldn't want those twins to hate you, would you?
Oh.
By showing up to the All-Star game, which is a real conversation that happened. We should have John on to talk about
we
that.
should
this
have
summer.
John on. He would love to. Yeah, I text with him.
He's a
every
great
now and
guy.
then, which is a very silly thing that happens in my life. But he didn't have the trade protection. And they did whatever they wanted with him, regardless of what it meant for him or his family. Marner has that trade protection. And he used it. And I don't blame him one iota. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I'm sure I'm going to say it a ton more times before he signs wherever he ends up signing on July 1st or 2nd. The spilt milk here was spilled July 1st, 2023.
Yep. And so there was Brad made the joke about, hey, I can't believe we got to the third question before the Mitch Marner question. I'm going to skip his answer on that because he says nothing, essentially. He's a great player. We'll have to have a conversation. Emotions are high. I had our end of season.
I thought that was interesting where he talked about the process that went into after Game 7. He said they did talk. They sat down their exit interviews. And he said, we're not going to make any decisions here. Everything's emotional because we lost and we went our separate ways. And we're going to talk with us and he's going to talk with his camp and it's his decision. That was kind of it.
100%.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm paraphrasing that, Jess, is because I thought CJ's question cut right to the bone. And that's at 28-13. Chris Johnson.
He stopped Brad in his track.
Chris Johnson was like, hey, kill shot here. Mitch has done A, B, and C. Pretty clear what's going on. Now, listen to the way.
What time is it?
28-13.
Okay.
Listen to the way Chris asks this question. It's beautiful.
Is a big part of the future moving forward.
Chris Johnson. Hey, Brad. Down front.
Chris.
Mitch has had several chances this year to say he wants to stay in Toronto and has yet to do so, including last week. I'm just wondering if that doesn't change and he's walks out the door, how do you ensure that this team doesn't take a step back without him?
Good question, right? It's there's not a hockey tree out there that you just go and pluck the player off of. So, our job is to make the team look at all the options. That's what we got to go through here right now. I can't sit here and give you a definitive answer. We've got to, number one, go through the process with Mitch, right?
He's doing his best.
Our staff is in the process now of looking at all different outcomes. But we've got to kind of drive what we think is the best outcome. And like I said, in Mitch's case, he's got a say in the matter. I don't think, you're not necessarily, if that was the outcome, and we'll see where this goes, I don't think you're just going out and saying, okay, let's go get this player and he replaces Mitch. Maybe that's where I talked about we have to change a little bit, right? We have to change the makeup of the team. But that's speculation right now. That's hypotheticals that I don't like to necessarily get into. So we'll see is the answer. And again, it's not trying to be elusive.
So we'll see. And I think you got the gist of the answer there, but I thought it was well asked. Mm-hmm. And you see Brad go, like, adjust his glasses and go, how am I answer this? There are 3 options here, guys. He stays, he goes, or he goes with a sign and trade.
Which I don't think is happening.
Well, this is everything.
Almost nothing.
It would go against everything that I've been told. Because what they did, and again, this is multiple people have told me this. They sat down with management or on a phone call. I don't know if they were in the same damn room. It doesn't matter. And they said at the beginning of the season, Brad, here's how this is going to go.
Management did. Or sorry, his representation.
Representation said, this is how this is going to go. Mitch is going to July 1st.
Yeah.
He will not negotiate with you in season. He will not accept a trade. He's going to test the market July 1st. Do with that what you will. And various times throughout the year, it's been reported that the Leafs approached him to re-sign him. And one of the deals that I think Darren Dreger reported was it would have been 8 years, $13.5 million. That was pre-Mikko Rantanen extension in Dallas. I don't think that would be on the table now.
All right.
Because I think
$1 million more than Mikko Rantanen.
I don't think that. Yeah,
you're a psychopath.
Well, I think
more than Austin Matthews. You're a psychopath.
Rantanen would. Well,
you're a psychopath.
Rantanen would have made more if Mitch had signed that deal first. I think.
Yeah.
Rantanen would have been like, I'm justified now.
No, that's not the way it worked last time. Remember last time Mitch signed his deal before a bunch of pending restricted free agents, and we were all like, yeah, well, that looks like a lot now, but wait till you see what they signed for. And then guys like Rantanen were like, yeah, we're taking $2 million less. And we were all like, fuck! Oh, no!
And by the way, the Mitch deal last time was not 8 years. It was 6.
Oh, yeah.
It was not an 8-year deal.
Mm-hmm. No.
6 with 2 years of with trade protection.
5. Willie's was, I think, 6.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
So, you know, this is how, and CJ said on TSN later, he outlined those. Anthony Petrelli this morning on Maple Leaf Hot Stove has outlined those. It's gone, sign and trade gone, or for whatever reason, he tests the market and goes, well, the Leafs offered me the most, and if that's what's important to me, I'll come back to them and go.
Just for anybody who doesn't know how the contracts work, once you reach July 1st, he's no longer eligible for an 8-year deal, even if he returns to the Maple Leafs
Is it
after
the 28th or something.
I think it'd be. I think it's free agency once it opens. Yeah, I think it's just free agency when it opens. Even if you return to the Leafs, it'd be on a 7-year deal.
Yeah,
because then he's no longer.
Which I have also been told, his people don't care.
Yeah,
they don't care about the 8th year. Like for some people, that really matters. But we've talked about it with Walsh, and this is where it makes sense. If you listen to Agent Provocateur, he's like, "Listen, guys, the cap is going up so much that these 8-year contracts that you guys want these guys to sign." They're not going to sign them. Why would they sign them?
There's so much more money available in 5 years.
Sign for 3.
Yeah.
He's going to be 31 when that contract's up. You signs 3 years now.
Still in his prime.
And the salary cap's going to be like $120 million.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Now, here's what I think's going to happen. He's going to July 1st, and he's going to have 2 options there, okay? He's going to take a crazy amount of money. People are talking about like, oh, Anaheim's got $30 million in cap. They can offer him 15, and they might. But he's going to look at that and go, my understanding is he wants to play for a team that can win. He doesn't want to go to a rebuild. He wants a team that can.
I'm so sick of hearing that.
Well, I mean,
I want to go to a team that's hot ass. I want to go to a team that absolutely stinks. I want to go to a team that borderline doesn't belong in the league.
Because they will have more money.
Who says that?
They will have more money. So if he wants to be like record-breaking contract, it's going to be with teams like the.
I want to go to a hunk of shit.
It's a good point, Steve.
I'm gonna. You know what? 13.5. I'm gonna do $5 million, 8 years, Buffalo. Because I don't even want to. I barely want to show up to the rink.
Yeah, but when less of a player, but Radko Gudas. When Radko Gudas signed with the Ducks, he didn't sign with the Ducks because he was like, man, this team's definitely going to the playoffs.
No, they gave him a shitload of money.
Yeah. Well, and so
it made him captain.
It's a question of what you want, right? Yeah. And so I think in this particular case, obviously they want money, but I also think that winning is extremely important. So he wants to go to another team that's going to be in the playoffs next year, ideally. And so, you know, whatever it is when you're doing your projections on where he can end up, I think that's got to play a huge factor in it. And I know teams are going to come in and Hail Mary him. I would not be surprised to see the Sharks and Ducks and whoever else. Why wouldn't you call if you're the Blackhawks and go, do you want to play with Bedard? It'd be pretty sweet. Yeah. The rest of the team's going to suck ass for a couple more years, but we'll pay you a fortune.
They might stink for a little while, but no one's going to care while you do. And then you'll be good.
But he will care. He will care. He wants to win. Because you know why? He wants to prove to everybody that actually, no, I can get it wrong, or I can get it right. The problem is in the Leaf dressing room.
So he wants to have his cake and eat.
That's what I would think. I don't know that.
Well, you're going to have a hard time.
Well, listen, there's going to be, I think that just about any team in the NHL not picking up the phone to Mitch Marner is crazy. And I think if you don't think those comments after the Florida series were a sales pitch, you're out of your mind.
Oh, yeah.
You're out of your mind. Marchand, Tkachuk, and Paul Maurice. Who do you think Paul Maurice was talking about in the "you're going to kill these guys"?
Oh, yeah.
Who do you think he was mentioning?
Mitch.
Because guess what they want? They want Mitch. And guess who has been, like Darren Drager, probably the most hooked in on this. Guess who he mentions? Carolina, Dallas, Florida,
Vegas.
Now,
and Utah sometimes.
I wonder,
where do you think this is going?
I wonder if
Florida wants him.
I wonder if we get a Nazem Kadri situation with Marner in Carolina, because he refused to go there. But, a few months pass and the dollar figure's there and Carolina doesn't have to give up assets to get. You know what? Yeah, I am going to go. Kadri could have gone to Calgary. He refused it. Wasn't because he didn't want to go to Calgary. He wanted to be a Leaf. He wanted to be a Leaf.
Yeah.
What if, you know what? Fuck you guys. You wanted Rantanen for me. I got this great idea. You're going to love it when you hear it. You ready? Go fuck yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sign there as a free agent. You get shit.
Mm-hmm.
You get nothing.
And I get an easier division. Yo, we need to have a Metro Division conversation. It's always
7 straight years.
Mid-Tripolitan.
7 straight years with an Atlantic team in the Stanley Cup final. 8 Atlantic teams out of the last 7 years because it was Atlantic versus Atlantic in 2021.
Right.
Absolutely crazy.
So,
I want to play for a shitty team.
As far as Treliving,
don't you?
As far as, well, at a certain point, like free agents do need to sign a certain place. Look at Buffalo. They do sign people. It's just really expensive and they stink.
Every player who signs in Buffalo does it with the air of, I fucked up.
Yeah.
Jarmo Kekalainen's there because things are going crazy.
We're gonna talk about that. Matthews, the only other interesting thing I thought was the Matthews. I'm not gonna play the clip, but Matthews injured himself in camp, and I think somebody asked him. I think it was Jonas said.
Luke Fox.
Or it was Luke Fox. Yeah. Luke Fox, you mean?
Luke Fox.
He was basically like, hey, why didn't you just sit him? And I guess the sense was that at certain times it would be fine, and then other times it flared up. And
when he was playing, he was good. So you don't sit him when he's
Not
good
always.
to go.
Not always.
But like he was good at a point where like he can play. That was the reasoning Treliving gave. Is like when he was playing, he was good, and he played at an elite level. So you can't like sit him when he's good to go.
Matthews' level is so ridiculous because he still performed at like a 35-40 goal pace and a 90 to 100 point pace.
Right.
And we're like, man, this guy stinks. He looks like a shell of himself.
Yep.
His standard's so high.
So, so
in the regular season.
So that kind of wraps the press conference for me. I listened to the rest of it. Like, there's questions about like how the reporting is going to go, like in terms of like, Brad reporting to Keith Pelly now directly because they knew each other, but like they weren't like talking to each other all the time.
I think his life got easier.
Probably did. Jesse, when you walked out of that press conference, what was the overall sense of what you felt?
It was long. That was, I think the first thing is you never get a GM that long. And we went into that already, so I won't belabor the point. I thought the contract stuff, I think it was the most interesting. It's Matthew Nyes that he actually gave info on. And he said they want to sign him. If they could sign him tomorrow, they would have that contract done, but there's negotiations that need to go on. And then he delayed the rest of the info. The kid kept saying about the process, about Mitch Marner and JT, and they need to go through that process. And he wasn't even willing to say that they will offer them contracts. He was asked directly, are you planning on offering Marner and John Tavares contracts before July 1st? And he said, we have to go through that process. So he did a good job dodging a lot of the questions, even though he said that he doesn't want to be elusive. He was very elusive for the 40 minutes and not answering anything that you're going to really get a lot of answers from.
I don't want to be overweight with back problems.
What?
You know, I don't, but I'm simply going to be that. I don't want to be elusive, but here I am.
But here I am being elusive.
Okay.
I want to have a beard that connects.
So I think on the whole, Toronto fans got to hear I think everybody sort of understands there's only so far he can go. There's only so much he can say.
Yes.
And I thought he handled it well.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he handled it well. But again, I go back to, this is a guy who in the past has been accused of being indecisive. You can't be indecisive this offseason, Brad.
No.
You need to be decisive and you need to be ruthless. Two things you're not known for. Are you up to the task? Can you talk about embracing the moment for the players. Brad, this is your playoffs. This is your Stanley Cup. Can you meet the moment? Can you embrace the pressure? That's going to be the key. And there's a lot of guys in Buffalo who are upset. There's a lot of guys who are going to move. There are going to be opportunities to make moves. More people are only looking at free agency, and I get that because it's sort of the cleanest way. Brad's job, people are like, oh, well, the Leafs don't have much to trade. That's his job. Figure that out. And by the way, I think it's interesting that, and I don't think it's nothing. So keep an eye on this. Darren Pang was on Overdrive earlier this week. And I know it bothered a lot of people, but he said, well, the Leafs should trade Nylander. And, think of what you could get for that, right? That's always the argument. Well, think of what you could get. Well, yeah, but then you don't have Nylander. And I'm not saying I agree with this, but it's not nothing that Darren Pang's pretty hooked in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. It's not nothing that Darren Pang and Craig Berube know each other very well. Yeah. I don't think that came from nowhere.
Well, and then Berube goes on, I think it was
Nasty Knuckles,
yeah. And he's talking about Nylander's a beauty.
Yeah, I don't think he doesn't like him, but I'm saying that
it's also not up to him, just like it is the Morgan Riley situation. He has no trade protection. You can't move him. You can't do anything with William Nylander.
He's the only guy who seems to enjoy it.
Yeah. That's the guy.
That didn't jive with me. That didn't make a lot of sense. The Pang thing.
I agree, but I just think it's worth paying attention to.
I don't know if it is.
Enough time has passed that we're starting to allow ourselves to get creative here because, we're talking about changing DNA. We're talking about profound changes to this team. What's it going to be? I'm going to be so disappointed if it's nothing.
I'm going to make a video on what I think the Leafs should do at some point for the SDPN channel. It's just been too busy of a week. And I'm actually glad I haven't made it yet because first off, I'm just some Yahoo. But also second, I do think there's a really good future where Nylander and Matthews are the guys you build around, and you replace the bottom six with dogs, like absolute playoff dogs. I'm not talking about I know Matt Duchene had 82 points this year. I don't think Matt Duchene, playoff Matt Duchene, is the guy you want.
Bless Pontus Holmberg.
No.
Bless him. He tried so hard every time he was out there. He's not good enough.
Nope.
Kelly Yarncroke, a lot of effort there. He's not good enough.
Now I gotta move us on to Florida.
Just on the Brad Treliving thing, you're asking for change. Here he is on May 10th, 2024.
Oh, I'm gonna hate
the quote you were talking about, Adam. He said, "When you go through a season as we have, everything must be on the table." Treliving said, "Everything needs to be looked at. Everything needs to be considered."
That's so disappointing, bro.
So.
That's thank you for bringing that up because we're all like, hell yeah, DNA. Boy, he's really setting himself up for failure if he does nothing.
We got a Stanley Cup final matchup, and we got a few days to think about that matchup. And so here's what I want to know. When you guys make your choices, when you're dropping your $2 Steves, okay, you're on BetMGM, you're what I want to know is, do you allow time to overthink?
Ooh.
Because you could get in there and be like, I don't know if I should. You got time to think about it. Usually, if the game's tonight, I got an hour. I got to make a choice.
See, overthinking is, I am the king of going this. But what if this?
Right. And it's the exact opposite thing.
No. So my initial instinct, my just pure caveman reptilian brain, when Zach Hyman got hurt, Florida won the cup.
Wow.
That's talk about not overthinking it.
Wow.
Can I ask you guys some, what do you think the sports book says trivia?
Yeah, I love it.
Who's the favorite to win the Conn Smythe?
McDavid.
Leon.
Connor McDavid.
Overthought it.
Who
Connor, but what if Draisaitl? That's what I did.
Who on Florida has the best odds to win the Conn Smythe?
I'm going to say Tkachuk just because he's the most popular, but he shouldn't be the guy.
Bob.
Sergei Bobrovsky.
Hey!
I overthought it.
Well done.
Yeah. All right.
And who's the favorite to win the Stanley Cup?
Florida.
I'm going to say Edmonton.
Edmonton.
Oh!
Edmonton is the favorite in the series, which I think is rather surprising.
It is. I can't even put a reason on why I think it would have been Edmonton or why I chose that answer. But like Florida, Jesse, you keep saying it. Florida is the champion until they're not. Like, why are we betting against them?
That's how after that Tampa series, that's just how I've been looking at the playoffs so far, and it's still rung true. And I don't know. I'm picking Florida to win the Stanley Cup.
I'm the biggest idiot because I took Tampa to win that series.
Me too. I thought Tampa would dominate. They were so good in the regular season, it didn't mean anything.
As fans, we should know better.
I had both of them one and done.
Edmonton, same. I thought the King. I was like, "There's no way the Kings lose 4 in a row," and there's no way Tampa just flames out in the first round.
Again, as a Leaf fan, there's no way they couldn't win this game.
No, idiots, all of us.
Trying to kick that football.
BetMGM is an official sports betting partner of the NHL. BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Go to BetMGM.com/dangle specifically. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you have any questions or concerns about your gambling or somebody close to you, please contact Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 to speak to an advisor free of charge. BetMGM operates pursuant to an operating agreement with iGaming Ontario. So I want to allude you to, or I want to point your head in one quick direction before we go to Florida here. It's just been announced that the Islanders have re-signed Palmieri. Palmieri and the other guy is Adam Boqvist. Boqvist got a 1-year deal. Palmieri got 2. And you're going, hey, I thought Matthew Darche was going to take this team in a bit of a new direction. Both of the deals were agreed to before he was hired. I told you Lou Lamoriello was still at work, and he is. And he's going to, from what I've heard now, he's going. But not only have I heard...
So he's not staying?
He's not staying, but those deals were signed by Lou's people and Lou before Matthew Darche got there. So you could kill the man, but not the idea. And I just wanted the Islanders continue to be the Islanders. It doesn't matter who owns them or who runs them. The Islanders are always some level of weird dysfunction.
Is Lou Lamoriello just going to haunt Islanders GM like the defense against the dark arts job? Like for what?
Yeah.
That's so confusing.
And
what
I
are the
can't
deals,
believe together, Friedman says $4.75 million. But of course, in typical Lou Lamoriello fashion, the terms were not disclosed right away.
They said the combined cap hit?
Combined cap hit is all we have.
Of those two, but not the individuals?
New York Islanders, no. 4.75 AAV for Palmieri.
Okay.
So I think Boqvist is a little bit different. But yeah.
Obviously.
So now Darche is stuck with them.
All right.
The NHL is a weird place.
It is.
All right, let's go quickly to the Florida Panthers. Now, Aiden messaged me and he said, hey, something that was lost in the pressure of the quote-unquote Toronto media conversation at the second-round exit was that Keith Tkachuk used it to get this dominance out of the Panthers. Before their cup run in 2023, when they rolled into Toronto at the end of the regular season, he went on TSN radio to talk about how soft the Panthers were. The pressure and focus that was placed on the Panthers after that Toronto media coverage got them playing harder.
Oh, does pressure help sometimes?
And
are we just going to cherry pick?
I had forgotten about that.
Oh, we talked about it on the show because the Panthers at the time, we couldn't decide if they were good or bad. They were really middle of the pack, but they were I think they were just about to begin that crazy run at the end of the year. But one thing we knew about the Panthers is they were not soft. They were a hard out every time you played them. So when Keith Tkachuk went on the air and said that, I was like, you called the Panthers the one thing they aren't.
Right.
Which is soft.
And they took it personally.
And they took it personally and have been murdering everyone ever since.
So I think I thought that was worth bringing up and interesting. Now, we know that the Panthers are into the finals. The only game in this series that was really any great hockey was Game 5. It was good hockey.
Oh, Game 5? Yeah, sorry. I thought you were going to say Game 4.
Game 4 was not great.
No.
That was not exciting.
No, Game 5 was good.
I don't blame Canes fans for not being able to recognize it. They love a close nothing match, and I get it. That's their style.
I love a chess match.
For sure.
I like a chess match.
Yeah, I like Game 5.
I
like Game 5 a lot more.
I think the Leafs this year, like with Craig Berube, I think I would hate watching them if I wasn't a Leaf fan.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Carolina, you get it. I understand why you enjoy watching your team, but man, as an impartial viewer. It's not for me.
No.
It's not my favorite.
And that's okay. Now the game ends. Carolina gone. And I feel like I'm just pulling up the scores here. I feel like this game was the best Carolina could offer. This is the best that they could be. And
it would be the game they won. Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, but I thought they were even better in this game, if I'm being honest. I do feel like they were better, but I think Florida is just a better fucking team.
Yeah, they got outclassed by the end of it. They had a good start, obviously. You go up 2-0, but like Florida's pushback, the way they can score when they need to score and clamp down on defense when they need to, it's better than anybody else in the league right now. And when they were needed to come back against Carolina, you really saw it, and you saw it throughout the entire series where the two teams weren't very close at all when they're playing.
And they're ruthlessly efficient. The thing is, Aho scores twice in the first period. And the thing that turns the game is a hold by Kotkaniemi. And it's a Matthew Tkachuk goal. And I was getting chirped on the watch along because people were like, you said Matthew Tkachuk wasn't really good in the second round. I'm like, he wasn't. They neutralized him. He ate Carolina up and he can't skate.
What a weird thing to say. You know what I mean? Matthew Tkachuk being good in the third round retcons him being good in the second round. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's not how it works.
They're fans. I don't expect.
He was better in the third round than the
fans.
second. That's just objectively true.
But what was crazy, so the numbers on this are wild. 7:23, he scores the power play goal. Evan Rodriguez scores his first goal of the playoffs.
I couldn't believe that.
At 7:53.
He was so good in the final last year, too. Wow. I couldn't believe that.
And then Anton Lundell scores at 11:59. And you go, oh my God. Now, here's what Carolina needed to do. They needed to come out.
Win.
They needed to score a goal.
Okay.
And it took them a bit. But 8 minutes into the third, they do. It's Seth Jarvis. And we're going, did we have to trade Patrick Marleau to them? But then, like 2 minutes later, it's Verhaeghe, and then it's Bennett, and obviously the game's over. Carter Verhaeghe getting that goal. By the way, I don't know if you guys want to show the visualizer on it. He is alone. There is nothing Freddie can do, and I know that the Canes didn't have Chatfield, they didn't have Walker, but like their defensive coverage was awful. Dmitry Orlov. He must be hurt.
Oh, Orlov's had like the worst series anybody's ever had outside of Morgan Riley.
Terrible.
Carter Verhaeghe's turning into like, I don't want to say this generation's on account of Andre Palat is still playing, but like he's turned into Andre Palat. Like every goal he scores is massive, right? That
clutch.
Was Palat for a few years.
Clutch.
It's just insanely clutch. Like every goal he scores is like a game tire, game winner, overtime. Like he's unreal. He's unreal. I'll never forgive Lou Lamoriello.
Early on, people wanted to jump to the, hey, Bobrovsky's leaky. Look at that bad goal he allowed and all that stuff. And like, none of that matters. Carolina, Florida is so good that like they'll be fine. Like Bobrovsky lets in a bad one. Okay. It's okay. Like
they pick each other up.
They can overcome that.
Yeah.
They do it all the time.
They pick each other up.
Yeah.
And we're all talking about how good Florida is. Goodness gracious, Florida's so good. And Paul Maurice said it's Paul Maurice time.
Yeah. So
and made it all about him.
So do you want to? I've got the clip right here, and I'll send it over to you, Jesse. And this bothered me all day. This freaking clip. So after the game, and you can hear the announcers talk about it. Paul Maurice and Rod Brindamore are not in the line. And they're having a weird conversation. And the announcer says, I think it's Chris Simpson who's like, or Craig Simpson goes, that's a weird conversation.
Yeah.
And Rod Brindamore is doing the I'm pissed off, so I can't even look at you while you talk to me. You see him. His head is swinging side to side, like, I'm not going to look you in the eye right now because I'm so mad. And I thought, I'm like, well, Rod's an intense guy. He was pissed about a lot of the calls. And some of them were really bad calls. The refs had a terrible game.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, Rod's an intense dude. Maybe he's just pissed that he lost or whatever. But it is odd that they're not in the handshake line. And here's what Paul Maurice has to say about that.
It seemed like you and Rod had an animated discussion at the end of the game. Was that just about the handshake line?
Yeah, that's all it was.
Okay.
And it's a personal belief, and I really appreciate what he did, because I understand the risk, that there's a bit of a risk. So the story goes like this. I don't believe that the coaches should shake players' hands at the end. There's this long list of people in suits and tracksuits. I mean, we had like 400 people on the ice. They're all really important to our group, but not one of them was in the game. There's something for me visually with the camera on of just the men who played, who blocked shots, who fought for each other. It's the end of one season. It's excitement for the other. The last thing that a player on the Carolina Hurricanes deserves is 50 more guys in suits they have. They have no idea who they are. And that's not a negative. There should be something really kind of beautiful about just the camera on those men who played shaking hands. And we should respect that. So we talked to Craig Berube on the ice in Toronto, and I figured if I could sell it in Toronto, and he understood it because he's played and Roddy's played. So they both kind of get it. I don't know where it changed. When I first got in the league, you would never go shake the players' hand. Some coach wanted to get on camera. Is the only thing I can figure out, right? And it was I don't know.
Oh yeah,
shake Wayne Gretzky's hand or something.
That ain't you, Paul.
Right. I think there's a really nice, kind of beautiful part of our game when just the players shake hands at the end. When you think of all the wars, that's not the right word, all the great competitions on the ice, hard, going after each other, and yet they shake hands like that. That's special. They're not sending Christmas cards to each other. This was nasty out there. Something very special to it. So I appreciate the risk that he took because he's concerned that somebody here is going to be upset that he didn't shake our players' hands. I asked him not to, and he said, and he understood it. So that's what happened.
And then
so he is telling the truth. By the way, I did a little lip reading. I wasn't confident enough in it to post it, but I'm pretty sure he calls Rod Brind'Amour champ, which I find really funny. But yeah, that's what he's talking about. He kept saying, "It's not my place. It's not my place." And Rod, I think, said something along the lines of, "Well, you've done it before," and Maurice defends himself by saying, "I didn't do it for last year's series," or something like that. But someone unearthed the handshake line against Tampa from round one, and he is in fact in that line.
Yeah.
So it's a really weird line. It's just a really weird line to
Can I
draw.
say something about this? Because this I was talking to myself all day over this clip.
Is it that he's an enormous, like, he has really witty lines, but he is just a massive fart sniffer?
A little bit of that.
Yeah.
And, this is going to come across as salty to Panthers fans because you guys are riding high, and you should enjoy this.
You're in the Cup final.
Paul Maurice is the second coach ever to do this. First coach since Scotty Bowman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Scotty Bowman to take a new team to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. And by the way, Scotty Bowman did it with the Blues, and the Blues were in the all-expansion division.
Yes.
So I would argue what Paul Maurice has done
Herculean
is not repeatable in the Cap era. Not repeatable.
Pretty difficult.
This is amazing. And we should be talking about that. Instead, we're talking about a coach with a dweeby point of view that he made up on the spot. And I got to tell you something, man. It has been done like this for 100 years. Coaches get in the line. You know why? Because coaches are a part of the series. And this is Paul Maurice wrecking his own moment. And I know Panthers fans are like, we don't give a shit, and you shouldn't. But we should be talking about, we should have spent all yesterday going, this guy's after 25 years, finally getting his flowers. This guy's coached in the league for 25 years.
Yeah.
Finally getting the kudos he deserves. And Paul goes, you know what? I'm going to wreck my own moment and make it about me and about something I'm sorry. You're talking to Rod Brind'Amour, who won a cup as captain of the Hurricanes.
Uh-huh.
Okay? He was the guy that scored the goal that got them to the finals in 2006. I'm sorry. You're going to tell him what he can and can't do? If I were Rod Brind'Amour, I would have been like, fuck off. I'm getting in the line. You do whatever the hell you want.
Well, and like, oh yeah, it was some coach who just wanted to get on camera. You said that as Paul Maurice with a straight face, being Paul Maurice.
Well, this is the thing. He ended up on camera and stealing the moment from the guys. What were they on? The guys were handshaking. What's the camera on? Rod and Paul having an animated conversation.
Like a fight.
Yes.
Like a lover's quarrel, not like an actual fight.
But you are a great coach, and you're hilarious in front of the microphone. You are also very obtuse, and always have been. Okay? He's an obtuse man. Fine. Whatever it is, you got to be. But at a certain point, dude, like, just accept your flowers and go to the Cup final and shut up. Like, that's all it needs to be.
Here, let me ask this. Does he have a point
No.
about the handshake?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. And 100 years of doing it the other way back that up. No one else in their infinite wisdom. I know Paul Maurice is the smartest guy that's ever coached. But John Cooper has never been like, hey, I'm a lawyer and this is stupid.
Listen,
he
John
gets
Cooper's exhausting sometimes.
But we're going to break with 100 years of tradition because Paul Maurice said so? Respectfully, no.
I don't know if it's 100 years, but yeah, this is the way it's done.
And I almost spat on you there. I apologize.
I spit on you all the time.
Steve spit on my computer a little earlier.
Did he?
Spit's still there.
Did I really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I just feel like, dude, let us praise you. Let us tell you how great you are.
Like we should. Fat Boy Slim.
100%. Let us say, hey, man, Paul, great friggin' job. This team is unbelievable. You are in dynasty territory, my friend. Enjoy this moment. And instead, he's like, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change how we shake hands. Shut up. Focus on the game. Move on. He spent, how much time is that clip that you just played, Jesse?
2:14.
That's 2 minutes and 14 seconds. He was not talking.
Part of that's the
about,
question.
Yeah.
So 2 minutes.
But his answer's 2 minutes on not the players. He said he not only did he take camera time, he took time away from the guys that got him there.
I'd like to offer my opinion on this because I could not disagree more.
Oh, I hate.
I think I think the greatest coaches across all pro sports know how to make the moment about themselves because they know it makes it easier on the lives of their players. Paul Maurice knows that playing in Florida is an easy time for their players because they just have a good time. Like they're out there having fun at practices, fun outside the rink. And a large part of that is because some of the attention goes to Paul Maurice, who clearly relishes in it and can take it and knows how to handle it. He makes it easy for his guys by creating moments. Like, to me, the handshake line thing is immaterial. What matters here is that we're all talking about Paul Maurice. And let's say at the end...
We should be talking about Verhaeghe and Bennett and Kachuk and
yes,
Bobrovsky.
They don't want
that. Is the point.
Is what Jesse said.
That is the point, Adam. We are talking about Paul Maurice, which is what he is trying to do. He was successful in this by making it about himself because we see time and time again, these coaches make it about themselves to make it easier for their players, and it works.
You won't convince me that this is 3D chess. This is ego.
No, it's not that deep. It's just his way of coaching, and he's done that consistently. And what fruit has born from that? 3 straight Stanley Cup finals.
Yeah, agreed.
So I can't sit here and say that he's wrong.
Oh, but
John
he
Cooper
didn't think it 2 he didn't think it 2 weeks ago when he was in the Tampa line.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he's talking about. It's the fact that he's talking and we're talking about him. I don't care about the handshake line. I don't even think he cares about the handshake line, or he does in a way. It's just the fact that this thing is about Paul Maurice, and that is good for his team. John Cooper does this too. John Cooper can make a moment about John Cooper. And when they had their media battles going head to head, we were talking about those too. And that makes the life of Nikita Kucherov a lot better. The guy who's not scoring in the playoffs for year after year after year. We're talking about John Cooper at the end of that game. And like when the Patriots were about Belichick and Tom Brady wasn't the celebrity he was at the time, the thing about the Patriots was do your job. I'm Bill Belichick. I wear a hoodie at the anytime I'm coaching this team, and the press conferences, media, I don't like you, media, talk about me and how I don't like you. Paul Maurice is a master at coaching. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing when he's talking to the media. He knows what he's doing with the PR. And I think this is good for his team. So I'm not going to criticize what he's doing because I think it makes the Florida Panthers better. 2
things. When Florida inevitably does renovations on their arena, I'm convinced the seats will be facing the other way.
They're going to get more players to come there.
We wouldn't want to.
They're going to get... Mitch is going to kick down the door. Holy fuck. You guys, aren't you the... place with, okay, so you're kind of going backwards as a franchise because people like you now and they're coming to your games. Turn that problem 180 degrees. We're great. Number 2, if you find yourself ever fired up by a Paul Maurice quote,
he's won.
Gotcha.
Shit.
Gotcha. Adam. Gotcha.
I don't know.
Wrapped around his little finger.
You're right.
I don't know if I'm right or wrong. Like, you might have a point on him being a dweeb or something like that.
I think just like Bill Belichick, Paul is a dweeb, and I can't wait for him to start dating a 22-year-old when he inevitably coaches at a university one day. I can't wait.
But honestly, I don't care for that.
That's a fun. I'm just joking.
I don't care for jokes.
Oh, okay. My point is,
Luke fucks.
Fucking just let the players have a fucking moment, man. And also, let us praise you rather than make you. He looks like A+ 100 out of 100% dweeb in this. And I know to Panthers fans, he's a god, he's a hero, and I respect you coming back at me already in the comments.
I think the majority of people agree with you, Adam. I think you hear that clip and how don't you say like, what the hell are you talking about? We had to listen to that for 2 minutes and we're talking about it. Now, but I think there's a little deeper thing going on, and it results in the Panthers winning Stanley Cups.
Right.
So
yeah, I feel like late Raptors Nick Nurse vibes from that. That's what I get.
Oh, put the guitar away, Nick.
Yeah. Just
I think a lot of people
weed in the bag,
look at Paul Maurice like how you look at him, and they're not a fan of the antics.
I think he can be really funny, but I also think Paul Maurice fucking loves Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice should be a podcaster.
There's definitely he's giving substitute teacher who talks about ayahuasca vibes.
Aaron Rodgers?
Like just no, Aaron Rodgers is too dumb for the scenario. But like we're talking about like a substitute teacher who is very impressive to teenagers, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you look back on the things he said, and you're like, oh, he didn't actually say shit. But you know, he's been a great lightning rod.
Now, I want to say something. A couple of things. First off, Lane Lambert, defensive coach for the Leafs, has been named Seattle's head coach, which I think is interesting because Seattle is a defense first team in theory.
That's a loss.
And that's why they signed Dave Hackstall, because they wanted to get the most out of their defense, who was also a Toronto assistant. He was gone in the season, and then Bilesma has been gone in the season. We'll see if Lane can make it past 82 games.
I think he matches what they want.
But
exactly.
When Lane came in here, I was like, I don't know about this guy. And you did a video, and he, all season long, owned my ass. He was amazing.
This is where you might have a point, though, because my argument the whole time was his career as an assistant coach was very good. And he had a long career as an assistant coach. He went to the Islanders, and he was a subpar head coach with a subpar team. Like,
let's be honest. Yeah, Lou was not building a good team there.
No, they weren't very good.
And it was post Barry Trotz. It's hard.
So your argument was, well, I don't know about this guy because he wasn't a very good head coach. And my argument was, well, looking back at all the teams he was an assistant with, he did a really good job in his role. Now he's the head coach.
Yep.
And he brings that with him, but he's not in charge of the defense. He's not in charge of the offense. Not like on the micro, getting out the board level. Like, seeing how he was on the Leafs bench, I don't know if he's gonna be a good head coach, because on the Leafs bench as an assistant, he was the most animated person there. Like, people were talking about Mark Savard celebrating when they scored. That was when they scored. Lane Lambert's like friggin' like this every time they're out there on the penalty kill, like losing his mind.
Yep.
And that's not really how head coaches in the NHL are supposed to act. They're not even supposed to move around that much.
Right.
So I'm fascinated by what his staff is going to be. I'm fascinated by that decision. And it's not an apples to apples thing.
Got it.
Being an assistant coach, a good assistant coach, does not directly translate to being a good head coach.
And I say that because that was one of the wrongest takes I've had. He was great as an assistant coach, and now he's going to be a head coach, and we're happy for him. Good for him. Mm-hmm. Where I might live to regret what I'm about to say is the announcement today that Jarmo Kekalainen has joined the Sabres front office. And there is already,
I think you might be safe, man,
a bunch of revisionist history coming out of Buffalo. People like, this is a great hire. Sabres fans are like, I literally tweeted, the worst get worser.
Okay, no. Here.
And
go ahead.
Jarmo, really good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get that off the table.
Great baton.
Columbus, there are some really good draft picks.
Dude, that guy had to convince people to sign in and stay in Columbus.
Yeah.
when they were Columbus
And made some
for a decade, and now he's going to Buffalo.
Made some bold trades, getting, the Ryan Johansson, Seth Jones deal and the Patrick Laine, Pierre-Luc Dubois deal. And you can argue about, listen, what I saw in Columbus was 10 years of an owner who was actively disengaged and let the managers do what they wanted to do. John Davidson was, depending upon the reports that you want to listen to, sometimes involved, but had some health issues. So Jarmo was sort of, in a lot of ways, left to his own devices. And I look at this guy and I'm like, I don't see how this makes the Sabres better, because to me, the Sabres are just a different version of blue Columbus Blue Jackets. And the issue with every Blue Jackets roster, and yes, I know they beat the Leafs, but let's be honest, that's not much of an accomplishment. And they swept the Lightning.
The Lightning, that's the big one.
Yeah, that's the big one. But that was 6 years ago or 7 years ago, whatever it was, 18 or 19.
19.
What I saw is what I see from Buffalo, which is you got an incomplete roster of guys that don't want to be here. And you're bringing in a guy who also iced every year after year, incomplete rosters that didn't want to be there. And I'm trying to figure out, Buffalo is a team that is going to spend under the cap. We know that. They're not going to they'll do one signing bonus, but they will not front load deals. They will. You go look through all the deals they signed. You look at Dahlin, you look at Tage, you look at Owen Power. There are some signing bonuses, but as a team, it's pretty clear the Buffalo Sabres will not front load a contract. So what you end up doing is you end up paying for guys, overpaying for guys that will stay because they'll take the money. The taxes are some of the highest in the league, and that matters. Mm-hmm. And you're going to bring in Jarmo, who, frankly, I'm sorry, but what kind of success has he seen? And everybody in Buffalo is like, hey, man, we just want to get to the playoffs. So I get that part of it, but I don't know how this is good.
The best executives in the NHL are not signing in Buffalo. That's it. Beginning, middle, end. So when Eric Stahl, signed with Buffalo to be like an advisor to Kevin Adams or whatever it is, I'm like, you know what? With the Leafs, you're talking about that ownership group wants to downsize the front office. The Sabres need to go aggressively in the opposite direction.
A lot of empty desks.
A lot of empty desks. You got to hire people. Having another voice in there, even if it's an inexperienced one, I mean, that's who you're going to get. You're going to get...
He's an experienced voice.
So there's experienced voice, wildly unsuccessful, but very experienced and out of work. Great. You meet all our requirements. Here we go. Eric Stahl, your introductory job, no experience whatsoever. Whatever, you're hired. I see it as a step. They're surrounding Kevin Adams with experience.
To me, they're surrounding him with people like Kevin Adams.
Kevin Adams. Jarmo Kekalainen has far more experience than Kevin Adams. Like way more.
Okay.
And he has a better resume than Kevin Adams, frankly. So I think more minds here. Listen, it's the Sabres. I'm grading on a hard curve.
Okay. I'm ready to hear it.
Real hard curve. I think the more experience you can draw from in Buffalo, the better. It still doesn't fix a damn thing.
There's two parts of the Buffalo Sabres press release on this signing that fit perfectly with what both of you are saying. One about Kekalainen's tenure in Columbus, and the other about him and Kevin Adams. So I'm just going to read those two to you gentlemen.
Give it to us.
And I want you to respond to that. The Buffalo Sabres write, during his distinguished tenure in Columbus, Kekalainen oversaw the most successful stretch of Blue Jackets hockey in team history.
He is correct.
Including the team's 4 best point totals in franchise history. Kekalainen was at the helm for 5 of Columbus's 6 playoff appearances all time and oversaw Columbus's first ever playoff series win, which came during a run of 4 straight playoff appearances from 16-17 to 19-20.
Can I pause you there?
Sure.
Subtext. This guy gave the best years to a genuinely ass team.
And
they stink, and he helped them not stink.
So that's on the Adam opinion on this. And Steve, they wrote a little thing that applies to your opinion on the working relationship between Kevin and Kekalainen. Because Kekalainen is quoted in this saying, Kevin and I already have a strong working relationship from my time with the Columbus Blue Jackets. And when we first started talking about this opportunity, it immediately felt like a natural fit. We are aligned in our philosophies and share the same core beliefs on how to build a winning team. I'm eager to help in any area I can offer a fresh perspective to supplement the staff already in place as we look to improve our roster this offseason.
Adam, what team in the NHL can relate more to Buffalo?
Columbus. Yeah.
Like
futility.
So
futility.
Not just futility, but also
Columbus is definitely a cut above Buffalo.
Well, and just a tough sell.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this to
I don't
shit
get,
on the Blue Jackets.
I still don't get why Columbus is a tough sell. Apparently, it's a great place.
No, we've said that 100 times. I like it there. Hell, I like Buffalo. I'm easy to please. Like whatever. I've enjoyed every time I've been there. But Jarmo actually kind of has practical experience here, like applicable experience. If imagine. We hired away an executive from like Anaheim or like the Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
We hired an executive from Dallas. So, he's from Dallas. He must know how to, build a winning team. And he's done this, he's done that. It's not difficult to recruit players to Dallas. It hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah.
So, I'm grading on a real hard curve for the Sabres here. There's still every reason in the world to think that they stink and will continue to stink and will be in the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes. But I don't necessarily think this is a bad choice for them.
Okay. Jesse, what do you think? How did that hit you?
I don't think that bringing in Kekalainen as a senior advisor is going to have a lot of change in terms of the direction of the Buffalo Sabres until they change Kevin Adams. I think that's kind of where I land on the Buffalo Sabres is Kevin Adams is still the final decision maker. He might have a person who's very smart in his ears giving him good advice, but I have grown to not trust that man on how to build a hockey team and who to sign and who to keep on your team in Buffalo and how to build a competitive roster. So as long as he's at the top, I don't really care who they bring in.
The irony there, Jesse, is what I saw from some Sabres fans is, that would be a good heir apparent to Kevin Adams.
I think if the Pagulas decided to fire Kevin Adams and hire Jarmo Kekalainen to do the whole shebang, I think that'd be a lot better decision because that'd be a different human being that's not named Kevin Adams.
It's so crazy that the Bills can be such a destination in the NFL and the Sabres are so not. And it's clear that Terry's not, Kim's got her health issues and that sort of thing, so I feel bad. But Terry Pagula, who's running everything, is a huge Bills fan.
The Sabres aren't their priority.
Doesn't care about the Sabres. Yeah. Doesn't care. And I really get it when Sabres fans are like, please, God, just sell us to someone else. Because as soon as they do, and they get an owner who cares, that is going to be one of the best hockey markets. Regularly, year after year, they're like a top TV market in the NHL.
Couldn't help but notice Ottawa made the playoffs.
Yeah, man.
Like
it's crazy.
They got an owner in there who's moving heaven and earth to make them relevant, and here they are. Right? You need that. You need that.
Crazy. All right. Well, listen, I'll eat my words just like I did with Lane Lambert if it goes great. Maybe Buffalo makes the playoffs and everybody's like, screw you.
Hey.
I'll be happy for you. Anyway, we'll wrap it up.
I just hope when that happens, Sabres fans don't go, you were wrong. They just go, look at us, the wrongs. Together, ladies and gentlemen, introducing to the stage, the wrongs. Post-concert interview by Luke Fuchs.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.